Live.
Hello, 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 and welcome everyone. This is the UK edition of the Game Pro Mixer. First and foremost, thank you so much for joining. We have a very, very, very special event planned for you today. We have some very amazing speakers. We're going to have some very great conversations. Now, so before we begin, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Kirsten Timothy. I'm a developer over at Ubisoft Toronto, currently working on Far Cry 6, and most recently, I've worked on Watch Dogs Legion. I'm about 3 years into the game, and I cannot wait to see what everyone else is going to think of the games I've worked on. Can't wait to work on more games, and it's been a blast so far. And working with me today, I got my big bro, Mr. Leon Winkler. How are you doing today, man?
Hello, hello, Kirsten. Thank you so much. Good to be back to all of you with the fifth edition of the Black Game Pros Mixer. Man, don't even know where to start. It's super exciting to be here. Super exciting to have a wonderful group of talents here to talk about topics that will hopefully motivate and stimulate and uplift all of you all watching. Um, Basically, the speakers that we have represent the broader video gaming industry in the United Kingdom, but we'll introduce them to you in a minute because Kirsten.
Yeah, so not too fast. We want to ease into it this morning, or morning for me, evening for everybody else, as I'm in Toronto right now. But yeah, so before we do that, let's just take a minute to really stop and explain the reason why we're doing this. So, the Black Game Pro Initiative was created to uplift and foster the many talents in and around the gaming industry. A lot of people have the common misconception that if you're in the gaming industry, you're a programmer or you only do level design. But in fact, this goes beyond that. We could be community managers, we could be level designers, artists. We could also be people like Leon, director of international events. We could be esports hosts. We could also be content creators. The job family is very vast, and more than anything, people of color, people like us, people like you and me, really exist out there, and we want to be able to showcase that, highlight that, and bring that awareness to the world. That hey, we're here. We can do this job just as well as you can. Let's have this conversation.
Yeah, totally. I couldn't have said it better. And that's why I'm super excited to do these kind of events and putting a spotlight on Black folks making their mark in the industry. I mean, I've been working for Ubisoft now myself for over 14 years, and while indeed it has become a little bit better, there's still a long way to go. And we hope that by doing these kind of initiatives and putting a spotlight on all these amazing people that also make their career out of video games, that it inspires all of you watching, either already working in the game industry or wanting to work in the game industry, to be like, oh, indeed, there's someone out there that either looks like me or looks different than me, which is also something that is very cool. So it's really about uplifting and amplifying some of the great work that all of these speakers that we have today have been doing. And indeed, one of the things that Kirsten already kind of like touched upon, it's like you can make your career in video games whatever way you want. And that's something that we're also trying to show. It's you can be indeed like myself. I'm director of events, but we have so many different profiles here today who will share their stories, how they got in the industry. They will share stories on other cool stuff. We have other panels, but I think we need to give them a little bit more insight on what the schedule is, right? Right, Kirsten? Should I do that?
Yeah, let's let the people know what the schedule's like today.
All right, cool. I'm not going to go through the full schedule because that is boring, and I think we'll just go into the first panel later. But just to give an idea of what you can expect today, we have panels about being and staying successful in the United Kingdom, working in video games. We have interviews with amazing people like Stephanie Ajoma from NA Saga, inspiring keynotes from people like Chela Ramanan, who works for Ubisoft Massive and is co-founder of POC in Play. We have a very cool keynote later on from Adam from Azumi and also from POC in Play. So it's a lot of cool stuff. And it's a little spoiler, but I'm not gonna spoil too much. But later in the event, we have a very cool announcement that will hopefully, that will actually impact you all watching. But more on that later.
Yeah, let's not talk about that too much. And yeah, so let's just really kind of expand on that. Let's talk about our panelists because,
Yep.
like every mixer we have, we always find a way of bringing in top tier talent and people who really motivate and really educate the people about what it's like in the game industry. And again, we're on our fifth at bat at this, so it's kind of wild to me that we've been doing this for over a year now. We're at the fifth mixer, and it keeps getting better and better and better. And I'd have to say, particularly for me, I'm really excited about this mixer because growing up, I've been a huge fan of like UK movies, UK music. So learning about the UK gaming industry has me really intrigued. I really want to know their perspective on how this works, as they would say, across the pond, right? So let's talk about our panelists. So for the first, to begin with, we have Rosemary, who works at Xbox Games category, the lead in the UK and Irish territories. She's a multi-award-winning strategic marketing specialist for almost 20 years now. And she also has a number of senior roles in companies such as Sony PlayStation, Warner Brothers, Curve Digital, and Microsoft, where she manages the full Xbox games portfolio. She's worked on a number of groundbreaking software and hardware campaigns, including most recently the Xbox Series X and S launch. Rosemary is also an active diversity and inclusion and youth development ambassador. Second up, we have Adam Campbell. Adam is director and product at Azumi DaVinci, the world's fastest growing kids media company, co-founded and also co-founder of POC and Game, the largest racial advocacy group for video games in Europe. He's also a member of the British Academy of Film and TV Arts, or BAFTA, and an award-winning producer as well. With a career spanning over a decade in video games, he has a lot of previous roles such as Miniclip, Sega, and Jagex. And last but most certainly not least, we also invited Lauren Dillon to the table as well. She is a senior account director at Premier PR London. Lauren originally began her PR career working in TV industry before joining the game industry in 2009. She has worked across a number of clients, including AAA games and mobile games, to working with small indie publishers and on a consultation basis. Through her strategic approach, she recognizes opportunities that will work effectively to communicate various ways of different media throughout the different gaming campaigns. Sorry, she's also has very talented. Sorry, clearly it's really early for me. I apologize.
it's all good. I wanted to have like I was like, okay, let's see how you're gonna take this one because it's a long chat.
It's a long one. Again, because all our people here
really, right? Sorry, carry on.
About these people, and I want to just make sure I get this right. Yeah, sharpened at London's film premieres in her spare time. So I got that out of the way. No issue at all.
Leon. Not at all. Now, before we dive into that, because I think we still have a few more minutes before the first panel will start, because it will start at 3:10. For all of you watching, we have sent you a Q&A document earlier. We've received some of your questions, which we will answer at the end of each panel. So thank you all very much for participating in that. If you want to join the conversation online, hashtag UBBGP or Black Game Pros Mixer, feel free to reach out to Kirsten, myself, or all the other speakers here that we will feature here later today, because that's what we're here for. That's also one of the things why we're doing these mixers, is to create a network of industry peers that you can reach out to if you have any questions, that you can reach out to if you maybe even want to collaborate, or if you want to find out more about the stories that they're telling today. So I think on that note, even though we're a little bit early, but I think we're going to have a lot to talk about anyway in the panels, I think it's time for a transition. So I would say to our tech team watching and helping, let's do this. All right. So, hi, everyone. For those just tuning in, you are watching the Black Game Pros Mixer UK edition, and we're just about to start the first panel, breaking into the UK gaming industry. We've invited three amazing human beings that Kirsten just already announced, but I'm just going to give a quick summary already so that you know exactly who we have right here. We have Rose representing Xbox. Rose, how you doing? Make some noise.
Yay. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here, Rose. Second, we have Adam from Azumi and POC and Play. Adam, how are you feeling?
Hey, everyone. Good to be here.
Thanks for being here. And last, but indeed not least, we have Lauren from Premier PR. How are things on your side, Lauren?
Oh, good. Thank you for having me on.
Well, it is a pleasure to have all of you people here, because the thing is, and ever since we've been doing these mixers, and actually ever since I've been working in the gaming industry, one of the questions that we get a lot is like, how do you get a job within video games? How do you do that? Where to start? What to do? Who to talk to? And we really wanted to focus this panel, especially since the three of you represent different companies and initiatives within the industry, to vibe a little bit on that. So first and foremost, let me start with this statement that people say a lot. there's this consensus that you need higher education in order to make a career in video games. And I think there are examples to give that, yes, it can work, but there are also examples to give that, okay, you don't necessarily need it. So let's start with Lauren on that one. What do you think about that? Do you agree with this?
I don't agree with that. I personally did start my career with higher education. I did PR at university, and that had an internship which kind of just took me through into my career. So like it was really helpful. And for some people, I think it does really work. It also made me like a more independent person going off to university. But I think there are a lot of jobs within the industry which require you to have experience or to be able to put together a portfolio, and higher education is not really necessary. So I'd never want to put anyone off going through higher education, but I think there are times where you could just work on putting a portfolio together and going out and finding work experience and learning on the ground.
Mm-hmm. All right. No, I tend to agree with that. It's of course, I think finishing education will definitely help you at least you can create your network, but also it helps you to learn different structures. But indeed, it's not the end all be all. And just doing something and working, indeed, creating a portfolio, creating a body of work that you can show when you go to job interviews, indeed, that is something that is a good opportunity and possibility. Bring it to Rose.
Yeah, I also don't agree with the statement. I think, first of all, there are two entry points into the gaming industry, right? The first is development, which includes programming, FX design, coding, engineering. But then there's publishing, which is often overlooked, and that includes marketing, my field, commercial sales, supply chain management. So higher education is one route into the industry, but it isn't suited for everyone. And actually, it's not always accessible for all due to underlying inequalities such as socioeconomic factors, etc., etc. But if you do follow the economic path, there are now a number of courses that help develop specific skills, coding, for example. Some courses provide transferable skills guidance, which you can adapt for your role. So, for example, you could study consumer behavior at college and then use those learnings to land a strategic marketing job, for example. I think the other route is more practical, hands-on, and that's learning the trade through work experience, apprenticeships, work shadowing, and mentorship. And I think that's also invaluable because it prepares you for the demands and expectations of the working world, and actually that's really good for personal development. So I've gone around the block a bit, but basically what I'm saying is that there's two routes. One size does not fit all, so we shouldn't that shouldn't be the implication when people want to get into the industry.
I fully agree with you on that. There is indeed no cookie cutter way to get into the industry. Just to give a little bit of my background, I mean, yes, I went to college. I went to the University of Amsterdam and graduated in media studies, media sciences, which is cool, but is not per se related to video games directly or to the work that I'm doing right now. The work that I'm doing right now, events, experiential, is something that I started doing when I was 18 and started doing parties and DJing and all that kind of stuff. So indeed, there are two ways in. Now, I want to vibe on that a little bit more with you, Rose, later, but that's for the second question because you have had a lot of experience working for different parties in the industry, but we're going to hit that later. I want to bring it to Adam with the first consent, or with the first statement that we mentioned. Higher education required. Yes or no? What do you think?
So I'd say no. I'd like to kind of echo sentiments of the other panelists. I'm also a big fan of statistics. So recently, I don't know if any of our viewers saw the results of the UK census. So UK is the trade body for the UK video games industry. And they found that around 81% of people in the industry have at least an undergraduate degree, which is actually quite interesting. That being said, we are talking like 20%, give or take, people who haven't got a degree. And it's also really worth noting that those degrees are not necessarily specifically related to games or the job that they're doing. People do like to educate themselves, study things they're interested in. So yeah, I mean, if you talk to many people throughout the industry, there are so many different routes. Some people had work placement, some people, studied, some people, moved from a completely different career. But higher education is a useful institution that we have within within our education system. And I think it's just a matter of seeing like what's right for you and how that can potentially benefit your career development in the future.
Mm-hmm. It's a good segue. Thanks for making that segue for me, Adam. It's a good segue to the next question, which is more a little personal question in regards to how did you personally make your career within video games? And I think especially with the work that you're doing, and we have a keynote of you later, Adam, but could you elaborate or give a little sneak peek on that?
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, like I went to uni myself. I studied computer science with games technology. So quite a programming, mathematical heavy course. Had good things and bad things about it. But I would actually credit the biggest thing that gave me a start in the industry as being work placements. So my first experience was just after my second year in uni. I had a placement at Jagex, another company that a number of people have heard of. And it was a paid year, like 1 year work placement. So being given an opportunity by a company that could also pay students and entry-level people to get experience was incredibly invaluable to me. Also helped me get a job at Sega later on, which I was working there for several months before I graduated. So for me, I'd say my step into the industry was through the bits of work experience I could find, actually getting my foot into the door. But higher education was really complementary as well, because it started to let me think about how I could use those skills practically in a work environment.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much for that answer, Adam. Much appreciated. Now bringing it to Rose, who prior to working for Xbox, you worked for Sony, you worked for Warner, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, been around a bit, yeah.
How did you get?
Well, I also went to uni and I studied marketing and psychology, but I had no idea what I wanted to do afterwards. There were no specific courses available for games, and none of my career advisors even thought of promoting gaming as a viable career path. I was a PC gamer, and that was just something that you did in your spare time. After I graduated, I got a job as an international sales coordinator at IDOS, and that was a junior sales role that just happened to be in the games industry, and I loved it. And I've stayed ever since, kind of working my way up, as I said, to senior roles, gaining experiences in large and smaller publishers. That way it's almost like things work. And here I am, yeah. So I think so that I was very much university, but hands-on roles starting from the bottom.
I mean, you hear that a lot for people that might not at first even had planned to go into the video game industry, that when they land a job and when they enter the industry and get to work with, well, the people that we work with, that you stay around. It has this kind of like welcoming feeling. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, before I worked in video games, I worked in the TV world and all that kind of stuff, which was cool. But the thing that I like a lot from video games is its authenticity. You have real people. It's people that, I mean, they love games, and on paper, they are all super welcoming to everyone. It's like, as long as you're a gamer, sure, we can talk, or we can play a video game. Bringing it to Lauren. I mean, you work for one of the bigger PR firms, I think, in the UK, working on games, doing red carpet stuff. How did you get there?
Well, when I started out, I actually didn't think I'd be working in games. I never even, a career in games never even came to mind. But as I mentioned earlier, I went through the university route. I studied PR there, and as part of my course, I did a year's internship in TV, in PR, which was great, and I loved it. And then I went back to uni for a year, finished off my degree, and then went out there looking for jobs, did some work experience, and then kept in contact with all those contacts that I'd made during work experience. And one of my old managers said to me, I know someone that's looking for someone that has a TV role going. So I went for that, and I didn't get it, but they said, we have a we have a games team and they're looking for someone. And I was like, oh, I don't know about working in games, because I hadn't, during my time at university, I hadn't played a game at all since I was probably like 15 or 16. But I was like, I did love games back then, so maybe I'll try this, and just do it for like 6 months. Went in there, got that job, and then stayed with it. And then the job was so varied, and I got to work on so many different campaigns that, yeah, I was like, oh, okay, the games industry is for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was basically my story. Yeah.
It's well, I mean, what I have noticed when I started working in video games myself as well is, like, indeed, you get to touch on so many different industries, so many different people, so many different opportunities, because I started in PR as well myself, doing PR for the Ubisoft games like Red Steel and the Rabbids and all that kind of stuff. And the cool thing is, because the diversity of games, you have an opportunity to link, for example, PR campaigns wise, link game X with a specific brand or a specific activation. You can link the other game with something completely different. And through that, for me then at least, you keep on meeting new people, having new experiences, or building new experiences around the games that you work on. Now, I want to vibe a little bit more on that, because I think it's always a very interesting, I think, to ask, even though it's not an official question, but I'm going to ask you guys anyway. You've all been working in video games now for a while. What is the coolest experience that you've had that you think you would not have had without doing what you do? And I'll just open the mic for the first one who wants to go, because this is one of the, I'm not going to put you on the spot kind of questions. Who wants to go first? It's a difficult question.
I mean, there's many, there's a few for me. I mean, just the opportunity to work on massive launches, and actually, because if you're a consumer of games as well, and you really appreciate when you see gamers appreciating your work, right? And so for me, there's it's the tentpole big launches and the activity, and just seeing people enjoy the content that you've worked hard to create and the campaigns you've built around it. And yeah, for me, that's kind of what gives me the buzz. And very few industries will give you that experience.
Rose, you worked also on the launch of the new Xbox, right? Or you were involved? How was that? I mean, that must have been amazing.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, and it's my first big launch at Xbox as well. So it's, as I said, it's just it never goes away. That buzz of that building a campaign kind of months on months, and then it's finally here and people receive it well. That I love that.
I can imagine. I can imagine. Lauren, Adam, anything you would like to add to that?
Yeah. Firstly, congrats to Rose. I mean, the Xbox series is still really young. But yeah, so I think for me, so I've been working in the production side of games for actually now the majority of my career. And probably the most interesting thing, exciting, is working with people from across the globe. So we know that the world's very digital, and it's possible to work on projects and games across different countries, across different continents even. And just being like, some guy in the UK in a London office or at home making games with people in China, in Russia, South America. It's, I just think it's incredible. And also trying to come up with creative solutions to kind of like convey your ideas to different people from different cultures. So yeah, it's something that I don't think I could have quite had the same experience if I worked in another industry. So yeah, it's definitely one of the top ones for me.
Thank you for sharing, Adam. Anything you would like to add to that, Lauren?
Yeah, mine's quite similar to Rose, to be honest. It's those big launches when they come to fruition, and you can see everyone's excited, and you're like, oh, I was part of that. I helped to make that happen. It does feel really good, and especially when, like as working at an agency, you're not always on the project from the beginning. But when you are, and you're part of that brainstorming process, and to see it all come to light, that's a really good feeling, and it's great to be part of.
Did you all ever expect growing up to work in video games and have that like Oh my God! Did you? No. Let me rephrase that question. Did you ever have that moment when you realized I work in video games? Like, oh my God, I work in video
All the time.
games. This is every day. So I mean, maybe it's just me, but it's cool, right?
Yeah.
All right. So moving to the final question of this panel. What makes our industry unique? Is it unique? Let's start with Adam for this one.
So I don't know, like, should we look at a UK perspective or just generally?
Yeah, we can do both. We can do indeed from a UK perspective and also from a global perspective, if you have an opinion on that, of course.
Okay. I mean, I guess maybe the first opinion, just thinking about the UK. There are a lot more statistics now, as I kind of alluded to later. Organisations like UK, IGDA, also the way the government tracks games companies. And it's quite interesting just how distributed the industry is. So I think about 45% of studios are in London in the UK. That's actually over 500 companies. So whether it's one person or over 200, that's a lot of companies. But you still have like hundreds of studios outside London, Scotland, West Midlands, Northeast. Like, it's very well distributed. And I think a lot of people think about games or tech and they probably think London, but actually there are these incredible pockets of games industry across the UK. And I think there are these kind of like also like different subcultures and groups. And yeah, I think that's something that's quite unique. I don't know quite how the spread looks compared to certain other countries. But especially even if you compare it to some of the other perhaps tech or creative industries, it's quite interesting for like just where it's distributed around the country.
All right, well, thanks for sharing. Lauren, what is your take on this? Is our industry unique, or is the UK industry specifically unique?
I think that like what makes it unique is that there are so many areas in video games that you could go into. So if you're someone that's starting out and you're thinking, oh, I love video games, but I'm not that much of a creative person, but I'd still like to be in the industry. There are routes for you to go in, whether that's you're you're studying law. There's entertainment law that you could sort of specialize in. And still be part of the games industry. And there's not that many. Obviously, there's things like film and TV where it's kind of similar, but there's a strong passion within video games and like a really nice culture. And it's quite a positive place to be. There's still things for like underrepresented communities that could be better, but in general, I would say that there's a really nice culture within video games, and that makes it quite unique.
No, I totally agree with you, and indeed also agree with the fact that there's still a lot of work to do when it comes to underrepresented communities and embracing them properly through the gaming industry. But there is this feeling of belonging and kind of like, for example, and I will give a good example. Whenever in a normal year, my team produces events like E3. I mean, this year it's a little different. Sad face. It's okay. We'll be okay. But normally these events that we have where the industry comes together, like an E3 or a Gamescom or EGX or other events, it feels like a kind of like family reunion, especially when people that work in the industry meet up, and especially when it's Black folks in the industry meeting up, and it's like, yes, like we're welcome, cool, nice. And that's one of the things that I've always loved from the gaming industry. It's that feeling of family, feeling of sometimes dysfunctional family, but family nonetheless. Rose, what is your take on this?
I'm with Adam first about the UK games industry. I think we've got some of the best game studios and first-class talent in the world. I could go on: Rare, Rockstar, Lionhead, Creative Assembly, etc., etc. I think the industry as a whole, I don't believe that there are other entertainment industries that have fans that are so invested in their content. It's through our gamers, through hours of play, financial investments through Kickstarter. I think, gaming as a whole is a multi-billion-dollar company, right, or tech industry, and has a massive influence on pop culture and media consumption. As I said, that's, above parity than, quite a few other entertainment industries. And I think that's definitely worth shouting. So that's what makes the games industry quite unique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. So I think there's probably a lot of people watching like, yeah, this is cool. This sounds like something I would like to join. How could they do that? To be more specific, for example, Rose, when you landed your job at Xbox, how did that go? What was the process? It's just an interview. You go to the interview, you did well, you get the job. Did you need to show a portfolio, body of work?
Yeah, well, I think that's what I mean. It's different from a development side to a publishing side. So my background is publishing, so marketing and sales and that commercial element. So, and also I think it's different for someone who's had industry experience already, right? You're not starting on point number one. I think there's a couple of things in terms of getting into the industry. I think the first to kind of acknowledge is that things are changing from when I first joined. At the moment there is there's an active drive to help grow and improve in all areas of diversity and inclusion. Adam mentioned this as well through the UK Diversity Pledge. There was the census that Adam mentioned. It kind of identified, as we know, the lack of people of colour working in games. But what's come out of that is that there are a number of companies such as Microsoft who are pledge partners and are working to drive this initiative. So that's the first point, is that we're getting help. The second point is there are a number of companies, also non-profit organisations, that are opening their doors, offering work experience, and offering mentorships as well, mentorship programs. I can send you a list of detail of companies that can help the viewers if you need. But the point is that there are opportunities, as I said from the start, to kind of utilise your transferable skills and actually hone your skills. For going back to your question about myself, I think one thing about the industry, it is quite incestuous as well. So even if whatever you may bring your portfolio with you, but somebody may have worked with you before and your reputation could precede you. So it's different from someone who's worked in the industry, but it is there are tools to help those that want to join at this stage.
No, for sure. I think indeed there are different. There's definitely different ways of doing it. Lauren, can I also ask you that question? How did you literally land your job within Premiere PR? How did that go? What was the process like?
That was me keeping in contact with people I'd done work experience with, and then building up a good relationship with them, and they were happy to send my CV out to people, contacts that they know. Like Rose mentioned, the industry is quite incestuous, so it's always good to keep in contact with people, and if you get on well with them, most people are willing to help you out and to recommend you to other people if they don't have a job going. And the process, and it really depends on where you apply to and what level in your career you're at. But going through the interview process and being able to talk about what you've done confidently to show off your portfolio. But at Premiere, we advertise our jobs and work experience through a company called Creative Access, and that's for unrepresented groups. They specialize in recruitment there, so that's one thing that we do over here.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I wish we had some more time to talk, but I think we have 5 minutes to do a Q&A because we received some questions from viewers that actually kind of already tied into what we just started talking about. So maybe we should transition into the... All right. So we received a first question. Sorry, we didn't get your name. We forgot to add that thing in the Google Doc so that you could add your name. So everybody's anonymous. But we received a question from a law student or a law graduate. How do I enter the games industry if I have no experience? I created a website with a regularly updated blog. I also have a YouTube and Twitch channel, but I need to build skills that are desirable for roles such as junior project coordinator or junior producer. Even internships are hard to come by. Any feelings on that? What would your advice be?
Okay,
Adam.
I'll jump in. So yeah, I mean it's a familiar thing. Like, a lot of people have no idea how to get a role or where they should look. There are probably a couple of things I'll suggest. The first one is that you've built up a load of skills, and a lot of those skills are transferable. What you should probably do is have a look at the roles that are out there and get a sense of what those job specs look like. Also consider that the first role in the industry might not be quite the one that you want. So maybe there's one that is very similar, or maybe there's one that utilizes your skills. Like, for example, there are actually loads of law-based positions in games, even ones which will allow you to potentially train on the job. The second thing I'd suggest, and this is, very sort of relevant to the industry today, find your community, find people who are in games on social media. Game devs, for whatever reason, live on Twitter. Not just programming, artists, legal, HR, everyone. I think, if you look at people who've got the sorts of jobs that you like, you can always ask them for a bit of advice. I think the industry is quite open. And even if you don't feel like asking them, have a look at their career history and have a little look at, what things they did prior to getting into their current role as well. But the advice is out there, and if you've got my name somewhere on this list, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help anyone.
Because well, you hit the nail on the head there. Because I think a lot of people would say, like, sure, but I have no network. I don't know anyone within the industry. That's also one of the reasons why we are doing these kind of events, so that you see all these people here that you can reach out to if you're interested to find out more about their story. We're here to help, so really feel free to do that. And I think for the law graduate, I mean, I'm not sure if you're aware, but you can also, I think Lauren mentioned that earlier, you can make a career within law, within video games. We have one of our speakers that we've had 2 times now during previous mixers, Jean-Philippe, who is a legal innovation specialist at Ubisoft HQ and who has been working for Ubisoft for 5-6 years, I think. So there are many opportunities out there. Question number 2. If I'm not an artist or programmer, what role should I be looking for, or should I be looking into to break into the industry? Well, it's kind of like a similar kind of question. Rose, what would you advise?
Yeah, it's similar to what I mentioned earlier about, as I said, two entry points into the games industry. There's probably skills that you do have already that could be used and transferred to the gaming industry. Whether that is finance or analytical skills, marketing, etc. It's pulling those out and actually matching them to the roles required. So just get a flavour of idea of what area you actually want to develop, or what area you want to go into, and match your skills to that area. And then even if there's certain elements that you don't have, there are courses and things that help you top up those skills. I think the idea is to perfect your craft, have a look at what you really want to do, match it with the jobs that are available. And you know what, if you don't know it that much, learn something or top it up as you can with a course or work experience or whatever, and then there you go.
Yep, agreed. Yeah. Lauren, do you have enough final insight to share on this? You're on mute. See, we have to put them number one.
I had to be that person. I've just to reiterate what Rose and Adam said is, it is just looking at what it is that you want to do, and looking at the skills that you do have and the skills that you may need to work on, and just sort of figuring it out from there. You just need to home in on what it is you want to do.
Yep. No, I couldn't agree with you all more. I mean, see, that's one of the things of these mixers. We never have enough time to talk. It's like whenever we kind of like start to get the conversation going, we have to switch to the next thing, which In this case, if we already have him in the panel here, Adam Campbell from Azumi and POC in Play, giving a keynote about how he got in the industry. We thought his story was so interesting. I'm not saying, Rose and Lauren, that your stories are not very interesting either, but we wanted to especially also focus on the work that he has been doing for POC in Play and the cool products that Azumi have been producing. So on that note, I would say let's transition into that.
Hi everyone, I'm Adam Campbell, Director of Product at Azumi DaVinci and co-founder at POC in Play. Today I'm going to speak a bit about myself, my role, and my passion for inclusion within the games industry. So to talk a little bit about my personal journey and experience, I studied computer science with games technology at City University of London, and my first couple of experiences within the industry were at Jagex and Sega. Since then, I've gone on to build a career of 11 years, working at multiple companies, such as OpenBet with digital casinos, Miniclip, Hopster, and Azumi. I'm also co-founder of Europe's largest D&I organisation for racial inclusion in games, POC in Play, along with being a member and judge at BAFTA and a board member at UKI, the trade body for the UK video games industry. So what exactly is Azumi DaVinci? Well, we're the #1 educational entertainment group in the world. The combination of years of digital apps and gaming expertise in London-based Azumi and Berlin-based DaVinci Media, a leading provider of kids' educational broadcast TV. We have incredible mobile and TV apps under the Azumi and DaVinci brands, 6 linear TV channels in Central and Eastern Europe and Asia. We also have a number of partner deals with mobile telecoms companies, TV and entertainment platforms globally. It's also worth mentioning that we have the most incredible engineers with proprietary back-end technologies that make even your favorite streaming services blush. And here we are reaching as many as 60 million families through partners and direct-to-consumer products across the world. And I said we love apps. You can find our apps on popular stores such as Apple App Store, where we've been App of the Day, Google Play, Amazon App Store, and also some bespoke services such as Huawei's App Gallery. So what makes amazing educational and entertaining content for kids? Well, first and foremost, it has to be incredibly fun. Kids will never settle for any less than that. But we also like to take a more scientific approach, looking at how we can nurture understanding of STEM subjects, critical thinking, social emotional learning, and creativity. For example, want to be a creative superhero? The Super Mighty Makers will be right up your street. Perhaps you want to put your mind to work and consider how to make the ultimate creature mobile by combining the unique abilities of different animals. Knowing we live in a world where pollution and climate change are real issues, how about teaching kids more about sustainability? And we have heaps more content still. So now I'm going to change track and speak about something really close to my heart. POC in Play is still less than 2 years old, but it's already grown to becoming a considerable force within the video games industry. We exist to address the intersectional issues pertaining to representation, inclusion, and access for people of colour. Understanding our shared challenges, but also those more specific to our communities. The image you can see here is from one of our monthly studio meetups, with POC in Play London and POC in Play North being some of the most attended game dev events in the calendar. Though we've slowed down our events during the pandemic, we'll be back, definitely, with more formats than ever before. POC in Play is a team of volunteers who are pictured here. all industry experts with incredibly varied cultural and professional backgrounds. Myself and co-founder Shella Ramanan, Mike Anderson, Des Gale, Nida Ahmad, Dr. Satish Shuharak, Jody Azar, Sitara Schefter, Mu Yu, and Jadeline Charaskal. We do cool representation initiatives such as the wildly successful POC in Play takeover of BAFTA. This was for Black History Month UK. Some regarded it as the best takeover ever. We surprised the world when we launched the very first Black History Month Games 100 list, highlighting people of all experience levels across 6 continents in the video games industry. And they're all Black. As well as these forms of initiative, we also collaborate with other organisations such as Yuki, with a couple of POC members on the board, and we're involved in inclusion and research initiatives such as the Yuki Census and Raise a Game. We also show up on parliamentary select committees whenever games are in focus. Viral hashtags such as I am POC in Play, showing the hidden yet true face of the diverse games industry. We love to do articles across industry and media outlets on key topics around marginalised people. And we have exciting future initiatives such as the world first POC in Play stock images, a completely free resource. And there's even more to come, but we'll keep quiet for now. And that's me for today. You can find me on Twitter, AC_revolution. You can find me on LinkedIn /justac. You can email me adam@azumi.com, contacts@pocplay.org, or you can visit the POC in Play website, www.pocplay.org. Thank you for your time. See you soon.
All right. Now, I totally forgot for the previous panel to thank the guests for joining. That was very rude of me. So thank you very much, Lauren. Thank you very much, Rose. Thank you very much, Adam, for joining the previous panel. But now we are on to the next thing. We have an interview with Stephanie Ijoma from NA Saga to share more about her story and the story behind the work that she has been doing. Now I want to start. Hello, Stephanie, by the way. All good with you?
I'm good.
I'm so enthusiastic. I want to dive right into it because I read a quote on your website that was very inspirational. If they do not allow you in their spaces, create your own so big that they come knocking.
That's it. That's always. And that's exactly why I built NA Saga, because of the lack of opportunities, for the minority and the marginalized. I wanted to create something that, allowed me to create opportunities, not for myself, but for other people who are trying to break in the industry, whether that's content creating, streaming, both working behind the scenes, with developers and game studios, or if you just have a passion in gaming, but you just don't have that opportunity to, work with them, do something for yourself until you are in power.
So I wanted to bring it a little bit to you as a person. When did you first fall in love with video games, and which game was that?
So my first falling in love with it was the age of 4, and
wow.
Yes, so I've always been a gamer, and Street Fighter 2 was actually my first game I ever played, and I just literally fell in love with just how epic and just how immersive it was, the colors, the music, because I'm a very big fan of music, and I'm a very big fan of like games and music, and I feel like music, plays a very, very big part in, game production and how you tell a story, whether it's even just fighting games. But it was just those kind of epic moments and just like combating with people and just being in control as well, because with video games, you are in control. So it was that kind of thing of, just being immersed of it.
All right. So you still play a lot of Street Fighter?
Not as much, but I do play it here and there. I just found out yesterday from the Game Awards that Capcom have their Capcom Arcade Stadium that's coming out in February for the Switch. So I can actually now relive my Street Fighter 2 days on that. So yeah.
So what are you playing right now then?
So what am I playing right now? Cyberpunk 2077.
You already have it.
Yes. First of all, thank you so much to CD and Bandai for giving me the review copy. I was also playing Immortals Phoenix Rising as well. Super fun game from Ubi themselves, which I worked with Timmy from the Nerd Council and the Ubi team to distribute, and for fellow Black content creators and streamers who don't get the opportunity, to receive games early and stuff. So, we wanted to kind of step in, especially as community leaders, to provide an opportunity. Yeah, Immortals Phoenix Rising is really good, by the way. So
thank you very much.
Nice.
But I mean, it's amazing the work that you have been doing, because I also read that you've partnered up with Black Gold Gamers, Jan Lopez, and on some projects. Can you share a little bit about that and what you are doing with that?
Yes, so my very good sis, Jayan Lopez, who is founder of Black Girl Gamers, we decided to, co-produce a new platform called Gamer Girls Night In. Now, although NaySaga as a brand, as a platform is, mixed, both men, women, all around, we wanted to just create something that's tailored for women who want to get into the games industry, but, can't, or people who already are in the games industry, but they can't find other women of their own. Mm-hmm. And we want to just create a safe space for them, because again, being a woman of color, it's often hard being around, in a safe space, mm-hmm. but we wanted to just open that field for women and, the non-binary to join us and celebrate gaming as a whole, also network as well. Mm-hmm. And, also celebrate fashion and beauty, because, we love that. And we wanted to kind of break that mold of, you don't have to look a certain way or be boxed as a gamer. You can still enjoy the other faces of different things that you like doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Now, I mean, myself, I've been working for the industry for a while now. And then one of the reasons why we started this initiative, or the Black Game Pros Mixer, is to make our industry more diverse, more representative. We want to make sure that we, not only in our games, but also in our staff, that we show that there are people out there that look like, well, all of us here in this call and all of us watching. What do you think, Stephanie, we can do as an industry to become more diverse?
More transparency. We need to opportunities out. One thing I have noticed being in this for nearly 6 years is that it's a very cliquey industry, and everyone is really for themselves. And, when there isn't people, Black people especially, in power, we have a hard time trying to get that access or try to, get into those positions. Even stuff like junior roles, it was very, very hard for Black people to get into junior roles because they don't have that sort of accessibility or those opportunities or mm-hmm. that guidance to actually work in the games industry. I also feel like there needs to be some sort of not network, but a kind of like a peripheral of different types of networks. So, for example, for myself as a community, I try to make sure that I'm, consistently talking to brands and talking to companies to, bring other people, in, because something may not be for me personally, but I know there is a whole load of people who will be interested in that. And, just making sure that once we're in there, we stay put in there and we're able to bring more other people, because again, being a Black person in this industry, it's not easy. We have a hard time even trying to stay in the industry because we're not even given, ample amount of opportunities or chances to be considered. And I feel like some of the stuff as well goes beyond just content creating and streaming and stuff like that. It's actually, the HR, what are they doing to actually making sure that there's an equal fair ground for other Black people to be in those spaces? Because of course, we, yes, we are Black people, but we're also talented. We do have an extensive amount of experience that can carry us through and shows and proves that we actually do deserve the roles. But again, we're not given those equal opportunities and that kind of open space for us to, be involved.
Mm-hmm. So how did you start your network? Because you have partnerships now with companies like Ubisoft, you have partnerships with Xbox, with Sony, with other parties out there. How did that work for you? I mean, where do you start?
Well, if I'm going to be completely honest, I think it's if I'm going to be completely honest, I think it's a thing of just when you see a problem, fix it. Yep. I just felt like, for example, with Sony and Xbox, being super huge fans of both, I didn't see people who looked like me being a part of their product launches. I didn't see people, being part of the marketing and campaigns. And sometimes, you know, when there are people inside those, you know, companies doing so much they could to actually put us forward, it's hard because, again, the higher ups don't really consider us. So sometimes you have to kind of make enough noise until, you know, you're able to be in those positions. So for me, I do a lot of consulting. I try to make sure I sit in these meetings with them and see what are they doing and what can they do to improve. You can love a company, but you can also critique it to also make it better, you know? Yeah, and it's just the years of just networking, putting in the hard work. And my thing has always been about, you know, impact over numbers. You need to make sure that you have that valuable equity and that kind of valuable stance. So then when you approach a company, you know, you can say X, Y, and Z, this is what you've done. This is why you feel like this needs to be changed. And how can we do to, you know, improve it? I'm always a big believer of relationships and keeping that, because, you know, it's not just getting a game code and, you know, that's it. It's actually talking about, okay, what can we do now to further improve, opening more opportunities for our people to actually be involved. So because of the ongoing work that I am doing with, like, you know, Ubisoft and you know, Sony and Xbox, it just allows me to build that kind of strong partnership and relationship with them to provide more opportunities for other people.
Wow. Yes. Amen. Thank you for that. I wish we had some more time to talk, because once again, I mean, whenever we start talking with these mixers, it feels like time flies. I think we could have probably spent 50 more minutes talking, but we have to move on. If people want to reach out to you and see the work that NA Saga has been doing, where can they do that?
So you can find me on my official website, nasaga.co.uk. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, Nasaga. And, you know, if you have any like advice, or if you want, you know, if you need help or anything like that, this is what my platform is here for, to help and to, you know, uplift and put you in the right positions.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your time. We're going to transition into panel number 2, being and staying successful in the industry. Over to my brother from another mother, Kirsten.
He's on mute.
You're on mute, Kirsten.
Yep. So now it's my turn. Yeah. So just thank you again, Leon, for the interview with Stephanie. And Stephanie, thank you so much for that. It was really insightful. And
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna throw it out there. Whenever you're ready, like, I'm ready.
Let's go. I'll hit you up after. Let's go.
All right. Now let's get into the second panel. So the second panel is going to be about being and staying successful within the gaming industry in the UK. So on this panel, we have Stephanie, Timmy, and Marcus Bronzy. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to do a little quick introduction of them, then we're going to get right into it. So starting with Marcus. So Marcus is an award-winning presenter and founder of How to Kill an Hour. Marcus, award-winning presenter, currently working on his journey through TOE and online content. Marcus, how are you doing today?
Almost got caught as well. I'm all good. Almost got caught. I'm all good. Thank you very much, man. I'm excited to chat, and I'm feeling super inspired already. So thanks to all the guys that have been talking already, man. Especially Steph. She said some things that really connected with me, man. So I feel energized.
Yeah, like I'm amped right now. Next up on the panel, we just heard from her. Stephanie, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Blessed to be amongst inspiring, you know, Black professionals within the games industry. It feels really good to just be so immersed with you guys. So thank you for having me.
No, it's an honor to have you here. And finally, introducing to the panel, we have Timmy. Timmy is the co-founder of the Nerd Council and content creator. Timmy, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm blessed to be here. Again, Ubisoft, thank you for having me on there. Let's get into it. Let's really get into it.
Yeah, man. So let's just hit the ground running. So, Timmy, let's start with you. What do you think is your key to success to be, again, within the gaming industry in the UK, or just the gaming industry in general?
I think it depends on where you're coming from. Obviously, as a content creator, for me, the key to my success is trying to be consistent. A lot of people try and have like schedules and things like that, which is always best so people know when your content's dropping and, you know, how often you're going to drop in the content on, whether it's on Twitch or YouTube, or if you're a podcaster like myself as well. So it's all about being consistent and being able to be seen by people. I think in terms of other avenues in the industry, whether you're working in development or you're working in things like PR or admin or finance or law or wherever it is, it's all about being able to network with people and being able to find those connections within the industry and being seen by others within the industry and be like, yes, this is my role within the industry. This is what I do. How can we work together? How can we collaborate? Because I think a lot of the times people think once you're in the industry, that's it. You don't really need to connect or talk to other people when that's not the case. You should be able to have your own network within the space and be like, I know, so-and-so that works at Sega or so-and-so that works in Ubisoft or at PlayStation or Xbox, wherever it is, and being able to have those healthy connections within the industry will help you go far.
Yeah, like I really resonate with that as well because a lot of people always say that, oh, like I'll just talk to this one person and they'll figure it out for me, when in actuality you have to continue making these genuine connections and learn more about your coworkers and your peers in the industry. For again, like I'm a game developer. I have a lot of friends who are content creators who have introduced me to other game developers as well. So that networking is super clutch. Stephanie, what are your thoughts on this?
I think, again, it's one of those ones where you have to never fold. Always make sure that comparison is a thief of joy. And I think it's very, very important to know what your purpose is in this industry, not even in this industry, just in life in general. Because once you kind of know your purpose, you kind of know your value, what you bring, it allows you to kind of distinguish who you are and what separates you from you compared to other people. And I think that's what's, helped me with my success, because once I've kind of got out that nature of you don't have to be this certain way, you don't have to be boxed like this. If you just continue being you, if you continue being, that voice and that beacon of hope for other people, your work will speak for itself. For me, I'm more so of a doer than just a talker. So I try to make sure that my work just allows more people to kind of immerse themselves in what they're getting into. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's huge as well, because I believe that kind of breaking that mold, creating your own archetype that's what's gonna make you successful, because
Absolutely.
You don't need to be what everyone else is being, because why would you mimic someone, lose your own personality, lose your own audience when you could just be yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So finally, Marcus, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's a great question, also a really hard one to answer, because I feel like there's so many keys to success that tie together. It's not just one thing. I think even just listening to Stephanie's and Timmy's answers, it's reminded me of ways that I think that, you can be successful. I think being super clear about your offering is a really important thing. So everyone here today has pretty much said already that there's so many opportunities within the industry and there's such a diverse range of jobs that you can undertake. So what you don't want to do if you're trying to get into the industry is have somebody maybe not understand what you do or maybe not be clear with it. And I think really drilling down and making sure that you're super clear to everyone about what you bring to the table, what you offer. I mean, Timmy just done it now. He's like, I do podcasts and gaming content. So now if somebody has just met Timmy today for the first time watching this, they're now super clear of what he's done. Stephanie's really clear with what she does. So I think that's super important to success. And then, I mean, there's a heap of other reasons. I could go on for ages. I mean, peers is super important. I was so excited to just be in this room full of people that I do know already, and some people that I haven't met before, or met, if you know what I mean, because 2020 and all that. That's super important. The people that are around you, can really help to shape where you want to be. And if you make sure that you're with people within the industry and you're socializing and getting out there and meeting people, then that can really, really help with what you bring to the table. Also passion as well. I think everybody here kind of leans into what they're really, really interested in and great at. For example, I know that I love audio. So, podcasts was a really big thing for me when they came to the forefront of media that people could create and put out there and started getting traction. That was a great opportunity for me to jump into that. And another thing I think is just being really personal with people. I mean, yeah, we're all at home. We're all in our rooms or in our offices or in our studios. But I think now is the best time to kind of connect with people and try and be intimate. And I think the world's a lonely place at the moment. People are feeling lonely. So the more personal your content is, whether it's an email that you're writing just to connect with somebody or whether, you're streaming like Stephanie or making a podcast like Timmy, being super personal is important. And I'm going to stop now. There's so many reasons that I think that we can, that could make us successful. So yeah, find one, pick it and do it,
And you're right too. Being personable and like really sticking to what you know and really fleshing that out is important. And yeah, we're all locked home. I'm in Canada. Leon's in Holland. You guys are in the UK. We're all on this call right now, right? So what's not stopping us from collaborating, doing something, continuing these conversations, and moving forward with that, right? There's really no boundaries, no matter. I guess the year is not the greatest, but we can make our way to make this happen. Essentially,
Definitely.
So,
Agreed.
the second question is really interesting, and I believe that we're all going to have an overlapping answer to it. And I'm really curious to see what you guys think about this one. So, how did your upbringing and your culture contribute to your success? So let's start with you, Marcus.
Okay, I think there's again so many things tie into my success, so it's hard to pin it down on one thing. But I think a mentality of mine that kind of came, gonna show my age here, from kind of when I used to work in music a lot. So my kind of journey into where I am now with the platform that's How to Kill an Hour, podcast and tech outlet, was broadcast. So I started off, working in radio, but before that I DJ'd in clubs when we were still allowed out. And before I was even allowed to DJ in clubs, I just used to give out flyers. And I've always had this mentality for me, like this promotional mentality, where I'm always trying to promote myself and promoting is so important nowadays. I'll probably talk about that in just a sec. But I remember when I used to flyer for nightclubs, I used to flyer at what they called the Strip in the area that I was flyering in, and that's where all the clubs are popping off. There's loads of clubs with lights, there's noise, people could be out and about. And the club that I was promoting for, the manager gave me a bunch of business cards which said free shot on them, and was like, here's a promotional t-shirt that you can wear over your clothes, go out and get some customers in. And I was like, but all these clubs have got lights and hype and all this kind of stuff. And he was like, no, you know what, if you go out and you can make a connection with people, you can get customers in. So when I was flying, I remember I used to, see a bunch of people, go and talk to them, not be too salesy, but hey, what are you doing tonight? You going out? Okay. What kind of music do you like? They might tell me, I like everything except for R&B, hip hop and dancehall. And then they'd be like, what kind of music's in the club? And I'd be like, well, R&B, hip hop and dancehall. Do you know what I mean? I'd be like, okay, well, how do we work with this? So I might say to them, look, you know what, you guys seem like cool people. Have a little chat with them and say, why don't you just take a shot on me? A free shot with your drink when you get in, and try it out for a little while. I know you'll say you don't like the music, but why don't you just try it? And lots of times I'd end up going into the club after my shift, and I'd see the same people that didn't like hip hop, dancehall, R&B, and they're going, you know what, this is all right. You're having a great time. See you next week. So, long story short, the lesson I learned from that was just kind of connecting with people is super duper important. And I think now, when we're trying to work in the world that we are now, I think like we just said, it's really, really hard to connect with people, and I think I learned that connection's a really important thing, but also self-promotion as well, because I worked giving out flyers for that club for about a year, and they don't stop promoting. I'd see those people and they never stop. And I think to make that a little bit more relatable, was to dust off me talking about back in the day. Another example of brands that always promote themselves are, computer games companies or Coca-Cola. They're always rolling out that van every single year. When you see the advert, it's Christmas. They're never going to stop doing that advert. So, so for me, I think, my culture, of that whole promotional lifestyle kind of really helped me to realize that you got to kind of keep pushing yourself out there and never stop,
Well, yeah, like they always say, that the grind never stops, right?
Never stops. Never stops. Yeah, everyone hears that. Yep.
Yeah.
Damn right.
Yeah. So I took you back in the day, but there's my answer. There you go, man.
Appreciate that. Timmy, how about you? What do you think about this?
So this question's a bit of a sticky one. So I grew up in a household where like academics came first, and there wasn't really time to play games or even think about a career in gaming or anything like that. So I did like the whole academic route. I went to university, I studied chemistry, hated it, got traditional jobs and all that. And it wasn't until like 3 years ago when I started the Nerd Council as a podcast that, I saw what we were capable of doing. And it's not a case of, despite, family saying like, get a real job, or, you haven't got time to kind of do the kind of content creating thing. I think in terms of work ethic and being able to transfer what I found in traditional academics into my content creation, I've been able to be persistent and know what I want and be able to have a work ethic that allows me to plan properly and execute things in a strategic way, and being able to, have foresight to say, okay, well, this is the content I want to make. How am I going to make it? Have I got a plan in place? What resources do I need? Who I need to talk to about getting said resources? So I don't think, in a sense, that my traditional academic background has hindered me in my content creation, or I haven't had that support from family. But I think it's been an interesting journey for me, from going to wanting to be an astronaut at one point, don't even ask about that, to now thinking that I want to take my content creating full time and be a podcaster and a content creator and a gamer and talk about anime and comics and film and all this kind of other thing. And yeah, I think it's just interesting for me to have done the full 180 in a sense.
Yeah, like I really resonate with that. So quick background on me. So my parents Trinidadian, born in Trinidad, immigrated to Canada. I can't remember when. But so growing up, I was not allowed to play video games during the week. So for me, it had to be focusing on school during the week. I could play games from Friday after school until Sunday night. So throughout the week, I had to focus on school all the way throughout high school. So for me, that put me in the mind state of like, all right, I need to focus on what's important, have fun later. And that's had really stayed with me until recently, because I went to college for 2 years, ended up dropping out because the program wasn't for me and some other things happened, but that's in the past now. But I got into the game industry. I've been working for Ubisoft for 3 years now, and it's been working out really well for me. So it's kind of like having that mindset of like, I need to focus on the task getting into the gaming industry. And I never let go of that until I got my job. Really stems from my upbringing as a child, being like, all right, let's do this, have fun later. In the industry now, make friends and go to events later, but focus on the work right now. So Stephanie, this is the last question for you. What do you think on this?
So my mum, I always speak about rock, and watching her and just watching how she's a hustler, how she has built a life of herself that she can enjoy. And because this is something she wants to do, she doesn't just do it for anyone else, she does it for her. And her just, building her business and just doing things that she's always been a hard worker. She's always been independent. She's always been about her money. She's always been about making sure that she provides herself a life that she wants to build. And that kind of resonates with gaming. When you're playing video games, it's your own reality. It's how you make it. And that's something that I wanted to do within my own self. So for me, she's always been supportive since I was young. She was always the ones, buying me the consoles, buying me the latest games, whether they're mature or not, or 16. She was always making sure that I was always happy, because this is my passion and this is what I wanted to do. And even up until now, because it's almost been 6 years of Nay Saga, and for her to be, super, super supportive in gaming, especially come from, I'm Nigerian, so I was born here, but my family's Nigerian, and you know how it is, like when you have those traditional, I guess, Nigerian or African or even Caribbean families, they're very strict on, okay, you must be a doctor, you must be a lawyer, you must be this. But for her, she's just like, Steph, just do what makes you happy. As long as you're good, money's good and you're looking after yourself and this is the life that you want to build, do it and I'll support you. And just her independence has really just helped me as young as I was, like 16, being able to just run my own businesses and stuff. And again, like I said, gaming is, creating your own reality. And that's what I wanted to do with Nay Saga. When people come to Nay Saga, it's about just escaping from the world and also building your own reality. There's so many people who've started, content creating, streaming, and just gaming stuff in general because of they've been able to kind of find, a medium like, Nay Saga or the Nerd Council or Black Girl Gamers, and seen as so many other people that they can actually network with and stuff like that. So honestly, for my upbringing and my culture and just how it's helped me, my mother's just taught me to just always be independent, put your happiness first, and always make sure that you're working towards building the life that you want to build. And that's what I've done.
Yeah, and that's a really powerful point there, because for me, my mom has always been like, if you think you want to do this and in your heart this is the right thing for you, just go out there and do it.
Yeah.
And if you have that support, that kind of gives you like superpowers, I want to say, because like, you know what? Mom said I can do it. I'm gonna do it.
Exactly.
And I'm glad too, because like again, like growing up, I had an idea of maybe I could be a computer analyst or maybe a graphic designer. Or when I was 5, I wanted to be Optimus Prime. Clearly didn't work out for me, but I think game development worked out for me right now. So this last question of the panel is, I think, a very important question, and I'm expecting very different answers from all three of you. So Stephanie, I'm going to begin with you. What is the key advice you would give to young Black folks out there who want to make a career out of video games?
I would definitely say, like going back to my first point, finding your purpose. And I would also say, don't feel like, you being again, going back into society and everything like that. Society has made us feel as if though being a Black person limits our opportunities and limits our, where we can go. Don't ever feel like because you're a Black person, you're a Black man, you're a Black woman or whatever, that sets the limitations to where you can go. Always make sure that you are the one that's setting the standards. You're the one that's setting your own limits. It's never a race. It's always about the journey. Always make sure that you're enjoying what you can. Always make sure that, you're passionate about what you love. And don't be too hard on yourself either. Again, it's been nearly 6 years, and it was only in like the three and a half years that I decided, okay, this is what I wanted to do. And I was kind of denying it for a long time because, my background's in health, and I always had that kind of self-doubt about, really kind of breaking into the games industry because it's so hard. The competition is out there, let's be real. And, the way the industry is set up, it's not favored for Black people. But once you kind of take that leap of faith, and once you believe that what you have and the formula that you have works, I know for a fact that people are going to, catch on. They will learn, like my friend Jayan says, they will learn. And it's one of those ones where don't ever feel like you're never too much. Don't ever feel like you have to conform to be a part of what the current structure of gaming or the video games industry is. Always make sure that you're yourself and have fun with it, So yeah.
Yeah, no, I really agree with that. And like really building up that self-confidence as well, because as a game developer, for the first year and a half of my career, I really dealt with imposter syndrome. I'm like, damn, like, am I supposed to be here? Am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
Only up until 2018 when we did the 2019, sorry, last year. We did the reveal of Watch Dogs Legion at E3. That sounds like, oh, damn, all right, this is a real thing that I worked on and people are loving it, so this is cool. Fast forward to the launch this year, I'm like, oh shit, this is a real thing that I'm a part of. My name's in the credit. That imposter syndrome is gone. Like, I feel great.
Big yourself up. You are your own biggest cheerleader. Big yourself up, honestly. That's something I can resonate as well with that, in terms of like, I always used to feel like, wow, like I don't deserve to be here. But it's just like, you know what? I worked hard for this. And, I am, important, and I mean something in this industry. So yeah.
Oh, for sure. So, Timmy, what are your thoughts on this? What would you say, like, what would be your advice to young Black folks out there trying to get in?
I would say explore every single option you can. It's not just about being a game developer or a coder or being a content creator. There are so many other jobs and roles that are important to the gaming industry, even if it's just in retail. If you work in a retail store that sells games, you are part of the gaming industry. You are part of that someone's journey from purchasing the game for them to be playing it. That is part of being part of the industry. Never feel like because, you're not creating a game, or you're not, a dev, or you're not a Twitch streamer or a YouTuber, that you're not part of this industry, or you don't have value. You absolutely have value. You are part of that journey from start to finish of a game being an idea to someone actually playing it at home and being like, this is the best game I've ever played. So explore every option you can. Look at websites like what's this website called? Gamejobs.biz, I think it's called. Like, they have tons and tons of games within roles within the industry that are going from PR to marketing to lawyers to accountants. Wherever you can think of, those roles are there. So explore every option, and never feel like you applying for a role or you getting a role is you receiving a handout. As Black people, and as Black people within the industry, a lot of people will say like, oh, you only got the role because you're Black. We're not looking for handouts. We're not looking to be given a role just because of the color of our skin. We're looking to get the role because we know we're damn well good at the job. We know we can do the role better than everyone else that's applied for the role. That's what we're going for. We're not looking for handouts and, oh, here you go. No. We know we can do the role. We know we can do the job. We know we can make the content. you're missing out if you don't hire us or if you don't, include us. So never feel like you aren't worthy of anything that you go for within the space. Yes, there may be a few of us, but the few of us that are in here are making noise and we're making impact. Never forget that. Oh, and also never feel afraid to speak to people in the industry. Never feel like you can't approach people to ask for advice or, want to seek knowledge or seek help. As much as the industry can be a bit cliquey, if you don't take that leap to ask the questions, you won't get anywhere. Even if it's a case of, hunting down an email of a head of a studio and you want to send that email, send the email 500 times if you have to till you get a reply. Make sure you are going after those connects. Make sure you are seeking those answers and seeking those questions out in order to get to where you need to get to. And then one more thing I will say is, once you're in, don't close the door behind you. Kick that door wide open and keep it open for everyone else that's coming behind you. Because once you're in, people are now going to be looking to you for help and looking to you for advice. So once you're in, don't close that door. Don't close that gate. Keep it wide open for everyone that's coming behind you.
Yes,
big man.
Let the chat
Yes.
say amen.
Spitting facts.
Oh, yo, Timmy, do you want to just pick up that microphone that you just dropped there, please? Why ain't
That
you?
take real on fire, Dread. That is real on fire right there, bro.
Yeah. Boy.
Yes, well, honestly, facts. Like, me and Leon have talked about this so many times that there are so many opportunities available that people just don't know about, particularly Black people, because I feel like there's always a hesitancy to ask these questions, right? And one thing about our community is that clearly with you guys, everyone here, we all know each other, know of each other. And a saying I always like to bring to this table is that charity starts at home. And if we're not taking care of ourselves, who's going to take care of us, right?
Facts.
So make that connection, reach out on LinkedIn, reach out on Twitter, go for collabs and all that, because we, for the most part, we genuinely want to help each other. We want to see more people like us out there. Like, I want to go to the studio and see like a predominantly Black studio. I want to go see people like me at every room I walk into, whether you're a programmer, animator, graphic designer, community manager, any of that. I want to see all of that. And I think that that's very important. And just do it. There's no excuse. Just do it. Like, I can't even stress that enough. But man, so my guy Marcus,
Have I got to answer that question as well? Boy, Timmy, are you gonna do that to me, Timmy? Yeah.
I'm sorry, bro.
I mean,
Timmy should have done
next time Timmy will answer the question last. Next time we do this, yeah, every time. No, you know what? So many things that you both have said have been so true, and I think one thing that I do want to say is if you are watching this stream, you've already taken the first step in the right direction with regards to getting into a career in video games, just by logging into this and seeing our faces and finding out who we are and connecting with whoever you feel resonates with you the most. You've taken the step in the right direction. And yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, statistically, the odds are stacked against us. Yeah, there's not many Black people within the industry, but the needle is moving. And like, if you have that mindset that Timmy has, you want to come in, kick the door off the hinges and leave it open for others, you'll be helping to get that needle to move and to shift. And I think what a mindset that we have had in a few entertainment industries as Black people has not been that mindset. It's been something for a number of reasons that I think if we start talking about today, it means we'll be here for a very long time. Means that we've not been inclined to be like that with one another. And I can tell you, I promise you, the more that you open and share with others, the more that it helps them, and it also helps yourself, and you create a community of people that look after each other. So that's a super important thing about getting into the industry. And also, and there's a saying, and it's a bit cheesy, I know, but there's a saying that it says it takes 5 years for you to blow up overnight. Now, you may see other people, and whilst comparison is something that Timmy and Steph both said, you shouldn't do too much. You might see somebody look like they just blow up. Like, you might see Steph doing some amazing work and think, oh, how did that happen? Or Timmy doing some amazing work, or Midas, or some of the other people that you're going to see, and you don't realize that they've been working for ages. Look at Leon, for example. He's been working within the industry for 14 years. 14 years it's taken for him to get us to where we are now. So the journey can be long sometimes, but if you make sure that you really dig into something that you enjoy and that you love, you can be proud of that. I mean, turning around and saying that as a Black man, you've been in the industry for 14 years, Leon, that's, when I hear that, that makes me go, yes, like this industry is something that I can have longevity in. Do you know what I mean? And then when you're hearing Kirsten saying he came from an area where he didn't realize he was going to be at, realized he was going to get to. That was amazing here as well. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's lots to do. I'm not going to top Timmy's mic drop moment, so I'm going to stop right there. But yeah, so you've taken the right step by watching this, and we'll do what we can do. I think we're all genuine people within this stream right now with regards to, you know, our doors are open. So if we can help you out or give you information, we can do that. And let's kick down that door together, man.
Yeah, man. And like, I want people to understand that I genuinely mean it. Like, if you're interested to learn about how to get into the gaming industry, please feel free to hit me up, ask me these questions, and I'll put you in the right direction. I assure you that, because I want to make sure that if this is your dream and you want this to happen, we're going to make this happen. So now I want to move into the Q&A section. So let's just give it a moment and we will gather these questions.
While you're gathering the questions, Custom will not give you any information about games. I've been grilling him, begging for the last couple of days. Even when we did the sound check for this, I was like, give me some juice. He is not giving me anything.
I mean, I'll let everyone know the same thing I told Marcus. So, you know, I'm out here working on Far Cry 6. That's where the conversation starts, and that's where it ends. You'll play it when you'll play it, and you'll know about it when you'll know about it.
The legal team are all happy to hear that now, boy.
Yeah, so first question here I have is actually a question that one of my friends wanted me to ask on this panel today, because he's an up-and-coming content creator. And it's one of those things where it's like, does it make sense to be a quote-unquote jack of all trades, or should you hyper-focus in one thing and be well-versed in other things? So, example, if I want to be a podcaster, do I still need to worry about making videos or doing reviews? How would you answer that question? I want to start with you, Stephanie.
So for me personally, I wear many hats. So when people don't realize that before content creating and streaming, I was doing events management, events producing, you know, all that good stuff, the behind the scenes and stuff, and doing the consulting before moving on to content creating and streaming. I feel like personally, because I know everyone's different, because, you know, you can have those people who are very, very good at a particular game, for example. So, for example, you have like professional Call of Duty players, or people who are very, very well immersed in Fortnite and stuff like that. And if that's something you want to really focus on, be more than happy to do that. But I would definitely say expand your horizons. Don't feel like you have to, you know, stick into one box in order to, you know, be successful, because, you know, there is the pros and cons of it. You can do it, but you have to understand that it will be niche. It will take you a little bit more time to get to where you want to get to. But I would definitely say don't stretch yourself out too thin. Maybe master in one area first before expanding into there. So for example, I wasn't good at, you know, video editing. I had to go externally, but I said, you know what, I need to do this myself. I know I need to make sure that when I do it, I don't have to be going out looking for everyone. But now that I'm able to do it, it's now allowed me to produce about 4 or 5 shows this year. And it's those kind of things that allow you to kind of see, like, listen, you can do a lot more than you think you can. So I would definitely recommend, you know, not kind of trying to do everything all at once, but flirt with the idea of, if you're just a podcaster, for example, and you want to go into more visual stuff, flirt with the idea first. Don't just jump straight, you know, into ship with it, because it is hard as well. But I would definitely say master that first and then start merging your way onto other places. Because again, when you put yourself onto different mediums, you have more opportunities as well. So, but don't rush yourself.
No, like, that's really intelligent advice, because I feel like a lot of people want to blow up overnight. I got to get everything done now. I got to be perfect everything now. Yeah. It's like, nah, bro, just take your time, ease into it, find out what you actually like. Because if you have your mindset of like, you know what, I'm gonna do video editing, but then After Effects is your worst nightmare, you can't use Premiere Pro, like, are you gonna keep on doing video editing, or are you gonna move to something else? Like, you love drawing, let's do illustrations, let's do content creation. Maybe that makes more sense, right? It's kind of like, I think for me, just kind of finding your lane, doing what you like first, and learning, I guess, secondary and tertiary skills afterwards will really benefit you. So, question goes to you now, Timmy. Do you think that being a jack of all trade makes sense?
I think.
Be easy on me, Timmy. Be easy on me, bro.
Calm. So, like, just to reiterate what Steph said and what you've actually said as well, Kirsten. Like, when we started, we were just a podcast. We started off as a podcast, and we had to learn how to record by ourselves and edit the podcast by ourselves. And it became a slow progression into doing other things. So it's not a case of like, okay, you want to wake up one morning and say, oh, I want to be a content creator. Cool. So in one day, I've got to create a Twitch and a YouTube, and I've got to do this, I've got to do that. You want to try to do it all at once. Take your time. It's not a race, it's a marathon. In fact, it's 5 marathons, 500 marathons, however marathons you want to call it. It's a long, long journey. Start with one thing and slowly expand, and you will see how your audience will grow, your content will improve, your engagement will improve as well, instead of trying to do everything at once. So even if, for example, you like playing video games, but you just want to make like show reels of the games you play, start off there. Start creating the like 2-3 minute video edits of, you know, whether you're playing Call of Duty or I don't know, Immortals Phoenix Rising, whatever game it is. Start off small and slowly expand. Master one thing first and slowly work on other things afterwards, and you'll see how you'll grow.
Yeah, and that's again the same thing that we've been saying. Just take your time, learn what you like, then move on. Like, there's no rush. There's seriously no rush. Again, like, quick backstory for me. I started a podcast with my boys like a couple years ago, and I wanted just to kind of keep it audio. They wanted to move it to video. Ain't none of us good at video editing, so that was hot trash. And then the quality of our podcast started to dip because we were too focused on getting the production right of it. And we lost too much time in that. And we kept on delaying the podcast till they eventually went away. So as a product of that, I would just say, hey, like you said, it's a marathon. Take your time. Like, there's zero rush. So Marcus, I'll finish this question with you. What are your thoughts on this?
I think you hit a really important nail on the head there, Kirsten. Somebody said to me once, you know, prolific, not perfect, is the key to creating content. We could sit there for hours deliberating over edit. You know, should we cut it here? Should we put the audio here? Should we change the intro, the outro, music, whatever? You can get really caught up with that, specifically with content creating. So I'll say it again, you know, prolific, not perfect. I mean, a great example of that, if you want one, is if you look at memes. Think of your favorite meme, you know, for you watching or the rest of the panel here. You know, I'll put good money it's not produced the same way that a Marvel film is. You know, I'd say it's prolific and not perfect. And we've all seen people go from meme accounts to creating, you know, slightly longer videos to maybe becoming YouTubers and then actors. So that's proof right there. We've seen that. That's around us all the time. And then it's really interesting, that saying, jack of all trades, master of none. Someone said that to me at the start of my career, like, you don't want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. And I think 10 years ago, maybe that was relevant and that was correct. But nowadays, I think, you know, both Stephanie and Timmy, you both alluded to, and you as well, Kirsten, both alluded to learning multiple skill sets out of necessity and using that to save you time, to save you resources. And I think in today's world, there's so many tools around us. There's apps, you know, there's our smartphones, there's pads, there's laptops that can help us do so much. And yes, there's still a lot to learn if you want to learn how to do audio editing or video editing or you know, or maybe, you know, start to get a buzz on TikTok if you ain't quite on there yet. Do you know what I mean? So, but at the same time, there's so many resources around there. The internet is a wonderful place. You can learn so much. I mean, I am Mr. YouTube tutorial. You know, I'll use it to fix a plug. I'll use it to learn how to do a new edit style, you know. So there's resources out there. So yes, it's interesting. I don't want to say that, you know, I don't agree with jack of all trades and master of none, but I think it's phasing out of relevance. Multiple skill sets is something that is becoming more and more standard in the industry. I think, you know, we all need to be little Swiss Army knives. And if we need a specialist, there are specialists out there. But I think having an understanding of how something works will help you to do better. And that's just in the, you know, content creating side of things. And I think perhaps that would spill into other parts of the industry as well.
Yeah, and I want to expand on that a little bit too. Like, even at that, when you're creating your own content, if you know someone who knows more than you, because there's a high chance that people know more than a particular job family, for example, whether it's editing or creating music or whatever it is, ask for help.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, put the pride aside, ask for help. I know for sure, for me, if I'm working on a project, I know 2D art, I am learning 3D art, I dabble in VFX, but my friend is a master of VFX. If I have questions, I'm going to ask him for that. And so for Stephanie, I have one last question that I would love to hear your opinion on, because we're almost out of time here. So this question is, how would I keep momentum if I got an entry-level position, junior associate producing, or assistant project coordinating? any entry level really. So I guess kind of like once I get the job, how do I keep going towards advancing the career?
I would definitely say that you're always bringing ideas forward, because when you're bringing ideas forward, people are now starting to notice that you bring more than your role. And I think what you want to do, you want to kind of leave again an impact in wherever you are in your life, because that also kind of smudges the idea that you mean something in this particular role. Any type of project that I do, any type of work related thing that I do with a company, with a brand, I always make sure that I do something that will want them leaving more. That's the best advice I'll definitely give.
Yeah, and I completely agree, and I could not say it any better. Thank you so much. And thank you to Marcus, and thank you for Timmy for this amazing panel. Just really, really, really well done.
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure, man.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having us.
Thank you.
It's been amazing.
Now, so we're going to move forward to our next keynote. So our next keynote is going to be from Chella, who happens to be one of my colleagues over at Ubisoft Massive. So Chella is a junior narrative designer at Ubisoft Massive, and she's also the co-founder of POC in Play. So let's transition into her keynote.
Hello, my name is Chella Ramanan, and I'm a junior narrative designer at Ubisoft Massive. I'm here to tell you or answer the question, how did I get into the games industry? So I wanted to start with this statement that I used to get thrown at me, which was, so does that mean you want to be a teacher? It's like, oh, so I guess you're going to teach then. And so this is the response I would get when someone, whilst I was at uni, if someone asked me what degree I was doing, whether it was people, I don't know, friends of people's parents or whatever. So I'd say I'm doing a degree in English literature, and the response would be those types of things, like, oh, so you must want to be an English teacher, or you want to go into teaching. And I wish I'd had the response then that I would have now if someone asked me that. So I would respond with, no, I want to be a writer. And I didn't at the time, because it kind of baffled me why people made that assumption. And it's this kind of reductive sort of attitude towards both the subject of English literature and what that actually means and entails. And also it's a disservice to the profession of teaching, so it was kind of reducing my degree to nothing, being good for nothing more than teaching, I suppose, English literature to school kids. It's sort of insulting to both sides of that equation. And the theme of this event is education, and I pre-recorded this, but I'm sure people have touched upon the importance of the education pipeline when it comes to diversifying the industry. And so it kind of to reduce teaching to a profession that is somehow unimportant or means you haven't made it or something is to underestimate the power of being a teacher and how important it is, and how important it is to our industry that we have teachers who understand games. And it would be amazing to have an English literature teacher who could appreciate the fact that games are the modern storytelling medium, and they're a really exciting space to look at how human beings tell stories as we progress on our journey. So I just sort of started with that. So when I decided to do a degree in English literature, I wasn't sort of looking far into my future and thinking, this will take me to the games industry. This is, that was my path. It wasn't that at all. It was I really enjoyed it. I was passionate about it. I was really good at writing at school. It was the subjects. There were two subjects I was really good at, sort of naturally good at, and that was art and English. So I had that choice whether to pursue, and if I'd done art, maybe I'd still have ended up in the games industry. Who knows? But I chose English literature because I was passionate about it, and I wanted to be. I wanted to be a journalist. Like from quite a young age, I wanted to be a journalist or a newscaster. One of the few black faces that I saw on TV as a kid was Moira Stewart, the newscaster. And I was like, I want to do what she does. That's a really cool job. So I wanted to go into broadcast or maybe print journalism. I knew that I wanted to write. I always sort of wrote books. I was always trying to write books when I was a teenager, and always, not just when I was a teenager. I was always, so a novelist seemed like a good thing to do because that's what writers write. They write books. So that was the assumption. So I was like, one day I'll write a book and I'll be an author. But that was always kind of a much loftier dream. Journalism seemed like attainable as something I could actually do. So I pursued that, and it was really hard to get into journalism, full stop. So I did a postgrad in journalism, and I had to I was feeling about an area to specialize in, and when I started the postgrad, I thought film would be a good one, film or fashion, and then I got disillusioned with the fashion world. Sort of how cutthroat it was, and I thought film, but I kind of could see already that film was a bit of a closed shop. It seemed to be there was one type of person who wrote about films, and that was white men, and that is still the case today, sadly. And for some reason, I didn't level this at games, and I think it is because it wasn't as established. And it felt like you could forge your own way in. There was the terms like bedroom coders and this whole sort of homespun kind of roots to the games industry that made it feel like if you were just passionate and talented and worked hard that you could get in. And I did. It was really hard to become a games journalist, and I was the only woman when I went to trade shows and conventions or exhibitions or whatever you call them. I was the only woman in the press room, apart from the PR people, and I was the only black person, maybe even at the whole event. But I was much more aware of being the only woman in a sea of men, particularly on the side of games that I was on. And so I just kept chipping away at it. And I spent a lot of my career writing about things other than games, just writing for a living to, sort of copywriting, marketing, in all sorts of industries, really dull industries. But I was always writing about games on the side, and I wrote for gamesindustry.com, which is a small publication, but they were one of the sort of pioneers of video games websites, and they were super inclusive and progressive, like for the longest time. They were in the 90s, they interviewed the booth babes at E3 to talk to them about the objectification of women in the industry, and particularly at these events. And nobody was doing that. Nobody was having that conversation at that time. They were really great. It was a really great site. They gave me lots of editorial freedom to talk about the things that became my kind of, I suppose, my brand, my banner, which was, sort of diversity and inclusion in games, whether it's the representation of women or Black people, talking about trying to find my hair texture and character creation and whatever it might be, and other underrepresented voices, which became my sort of my soapbox, I suppose. That and then the industry kind of caught up with that and wanted to hear me speak about those things. And my career kind of really cemented when I started speaking at events, and that raised my profile. So I recommend that as a way to build your brand in the industry, because unfortunately that is a key way to sort of like say I'm here and I have something to say, and people will respond to it. So I found that people do respond to that if you have a voice and something to say that's something fresh and a new perspective, which is really heartening. And then at the same time as my journalism career kind of took off, it was the same point at which I was starting to think that I wanted to get out of journalism, and because it had been a really long time and I couldn't face another console launch, sort of coverage of another console launch, because I'd done quite a few. And I was thinking about writing games, making games, and I did an Arvon Foundation course called Writing for Games, and the guest tutor was Rhianna Pratchett, which was a huge draw, and then the tutors for the entire week were John Ingold of Inkle Games and David Varela, so like hugely sort of experienced writers and game designers, and that was kind of the launch pad for my shift towards making games. And then off the back of that, I joined a game jam, which is where I met Claire Morwood, who is now the co-founder of our micro studio, Threefold Games, which we formed as we were developing our debut game, Before I Forget, which was released in July of this year, which was really exciting. It's a narrative exploration game about an Indian woman with early onset dementia. And we're really fortunate that it had a great response from critics and people who've played it, and podcasters and content creators have responded to it really warmly, and people who have experience of dementia have also kind of said it sort of resonated with them, which is all you can hope for, really. And then I suppose a year before we finished Before I Forget, I applied for a job at Ubisoft Massive, and I got the job. So I had to finish writing that before I could join the team here in Sweden. And so I sort of got the script written on that, and then we went into production, full production on that. So for the last year, I've had two jobs. So I left games journalism, and then I joined Massive. And when I got home from work at the end of the day, I'd pick up my other job, which was finishing Before I Forget, and getting into the marketing and things like that. So that was my journey. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about the education pipeline. And I think what my journey tells you is that you don't have to walk along this forged pathway which leads you straight to games. And I think since I went to uni, there's been a proliferation in universities that offer video games courses, like dedicated courses, and that's really great. And there are schools and academies which also offer, sort of formal education in video games design and the sort of, I suppose, the business of games. And quite a few of them have sort of strong partnerships and associations with studios. So there's this like really clear path from these colleges and academies straight into studios via internships, and then people get hired and things like that. And I worry about these somewhat in terms of the fact that the games industry has a problem with the monoculture, which is that of a white, usually middle-class man. And these academies, I think we need to focus on who has access to these academies and courses, and what are the criteria of access to these courses, because we don't want another pipeline of homogeneity feeding into an already homogeneous industry. And also, I worry about having this really formal education pipeline, which means that people from other disciplines might think that games isn't for them. So someone like me who did a good degree in English literature thinks that maybe they can't, if they choose literature, they can't get to games. Or if they choose philosophy, there's no place for them in games because they haven't done a game design degree. And so I suppose my message is, I've had people in my DMs say, I want to be a games journalist, but I also like game design, and I don't know which course to choose at university. And I suppose my message is choose the one that you are passionate about. Not necessarily, and I know that now there is a huge pressure, financial pressure, to do a degree that will get you a job at the end, and that's it's sad that we've gone along the path of the American sort of higher education system, where what they call the liberal arts is the preserve of wealthy white kids largely, because they're the only ones that can afford to do what could be deemed a frivolous degree subject, because it has no job at the end of it, no clear job. It's not like law that leads to lawyer. But I think my experience tells you, and that statement of, oh, so you want to be a teacher, it's clear that not all history graduates want to be historians, and not all law graduates want to be lawyers or end up doing that. And I think it's really important that the industry supports and nurtures and creates different access points for people from different backgrounds who may not even have a higher education background, because that's not how the industry started. You don't have to have that. It wasn't there. So people just tried it. And we have free tools that people think you can always be a game designer, even if you're, working in admin somewhere, or you work in the, energy sector. You can still be a game designer because the tools are there and you can do it. And I think that the industry has a responsibility to make sure that people like that from different backgrounds and different routes have access to the industry. And because only then can it remain vibrant and relevant, because only then will it allow a diversity of thought and process and experience to make the industry as rich as it deserves to be. And I guess the industry needs us more than we need the industry. The industry needs us to stay vibrant and cool and exciting. Thank you.
And we're back. First of all, thank you, Chella, for that very inspiring, inspirational keynote. Much appreciated. And next to me, right here, the next person I have is someone I have been talking to for a long time, actually, and I'll give him credit for being one of the drivers of making this happen. This UK edition of the Black Game Pros Mixer, Mr. Midas. What's good with you, brother?
What's going on, my G? I'm there. I'm excited. I'm loving all of the energy I'm hearing from people, and I'm honored that to even know that I'm part of this process. So yeah, I'm happy, man. Feeling good. Is it?
It's appreciated that you're here, and seriously, thank you so much for bringing all these people, or helping to bring all these people together here in this mixer today. It seems like you have the entirety of the UK on lock. It was funny for people that are watching. we had some technical difficulties in the beginning, and Midas was calling people at the same time. It was amazing. It was like live tech support. So thank you very much, Midas, for being here. For those who don't know you, you seem like a man who's done it all. You've been presenting. You've seen you on stage. I've seen you. You're everywhere. You've done music. But for people who don't know Mr. Midas, what do you stand for? Who are you?
So just to keep it simple, I'm a TV presenter who specializes in video games. I'm a producer. I'm a content creator. I'm a black man. I'm magical. I'm enlightening. I'm a gamer, and I'm Daya. Is it?
All right. So let's talk a little bit about that magic. Can you do a trick for us here right now?
Look, can you not see me? This is all magic right here.
It is. It's the magic of technology, indeed. But indeed, you've been in the industry for a long time, and you've been making major moves, hosting, I think, BAFTA awards. How did you get started?
So my journey is a bit different from a lot of people, but then similar to everyone else's. Like, my background was music. I was a dancehall artist for years. That's why I'm so energetic, so loud. There's no such thing as a nervous dancehall artist. You get me? So I always did music, and music was always the plan. Like, my plan was to be the biggest dancehall artist in the world. But I've been a gamer for my whole life, like from a little man. Like, I've been playing from Master System days, and I've got a little brother, Minnie, shout him out. He just graduated university being an environmental artist. And being the oldest brother, like, it was always showing him that you can do anything, like, by any means, you can do anything. And I used to watch like a lot of gaming content online, like the IGNs, the Kind of Funnies, the GameSpots, everything like that. But no one looked like man. No one looked like me. No one sounded like me. And it made no sense, because me and all of my brethren play video games. Like, everyone around me plays video games, but then whoever's been put in marketing has put some fat guy in a basement who's sitting down in his boxes and saying, this is what a gamer is. And I'm like, fam, I don't look like that. And I'm a gamer, and I've been a gamer my whole life. So I was like, nah, I'm not going to allow the world to just shun me away and make me not look like who I am, because I'm a gamer and this is who I am. And that's why I really kind of delved into gaming, really.
But I mean, how did that go? Because I remember, indeed, you did a song called No Fear. Indeed, you were making major moves on that topic, and then it seemed like all of a sudden it was Mr. Midas Games. So
it's funny because basically 5 years ago I was like, do you know what? I want to start a gaming show. I've always been about, I'm not a complainer, I'm a doer. I'm going to go and get it done by any means necessary. You get me? They don't let you through the front door, you bust open the back window. Not that I'm telling anyone to bust open windows. But yeah, by any means necessary. So I was like, you know what? If no one's going to put a gaming show out, I'm going to create one myself. So me and a guy called Richie Driss came up with a concept of a show called Games, Gadgets and Rhymes, hashtag GGR, where we get recording artists to go head to head on all of the games, because I was a recording artist and I love games. So the two were parcel and parcel of who I was. And then I partnered with GRM Daily, which is one of the biggest platforms for Black entertainment within the UK. And we created our own team. Like, we created a team. So I was a producer and I was a host, and we was writing scripts and speaking to all of the gaming companies. And then it was funny. So I did that for like 4 years, and 3 years ago I got called into Universal Records, and it was the first time in my whole life I ever got called into Universal Records, and they called me in for gaming. They didn't even call me in for being an artist, you know. And I went and produced some incredible gaming content, and that's how I met Jayan Lopez from Black Girl Gamers. And that day I was sitting in the lobby and I was like, do you know what? I'm just putting everything in this gaming thing. And then I literally made the decision, and I changed like all of my socials and everything to Mr. Midas Games, and the rest is just the past, is it?
Wow. All right. So how do you think that the experience that you had being an artist, being on stage, performing, making videos, doing that dance hall thing, how do you think that contributed to your success that you have right now, being on stage, being comfortable, talking, and that kind of stuff?
Oh, literally everything. Because in music, I felt like no one ever wanted to help you and no one really wanted to give you opportunities. So I felt like I had to hustle 10 times harder. And I'm a talker. I can chat all day long, as you know. Like, I love to talk, and I've got good communicational skills. So I was able to just use the transferable skills of networking and going to places and meeting people and letting people know how passionate I am and how excited I am. Because you can just from one conversation with me, you know how passionate I am about gaming.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that conveys a lot when you meet people. And the thing I think the difference between the music and the gaming is the music is a lot of people who are, it's a bit old business. It's been around for centuries. It's a lot of people who want to make money, where 9 times out of 10, like, obviously gamers want to make money, but when you talk to a gamer, they're just passionate about a game they just played. They just want to talk to you about that game they just played and stuff like that. And you can just relate to someone on that level. So yeah, those transferable skills like were completely timeless for me. And then I also used to do TV presenting, like music TV presenting. So I used to present on like Kiss and 4Music. So that's when I learned how to produce content. So I would talk to everyone because, like I said, I love to chat, innit? So I'm talking to the sound man, the cameraman. Like, I need to know how everyone does their jobs, because if I need to do that job, I'm going to be able to do it. And that's how I learned how to kind of put a production together.
That's super dope. And I saw, I mean, especially since you said you're a gamer. I mean, we're all gamers here, but you've been to E3 as well, right?
Yeah.
You've been once or twice?
Just once.
So, I mean, I think for all gamers, E3 is like the summum of anything that's, well, gaming related. How did you experience that? First of all, how did you get there? How did that happen? How did it come to be?
Do you know what? Like, there's so many things that Steph, Timmy, Marcus spoke about that's so important. And one of the real crucial things about what we do, especially as Black gamers, is 9 times out of 10, you don't know what we go through and what we're doing to get where we're getting. So, like, I had a brand deal where I was basically going to be taken out to E3. And 3 weeks before, the brand pulled out. 3 weeks before E3, the brand pulled out. And I literally had a hotel bill. I had a flight that I already paid for. And I just had to get the money together for myself and some friends and family. And I was like, you know what? I'm getting the money together because I'm getting myself to E3. And I said, when I go, I'm going to make sure every single connection I have is super valued. And I met some incredible people. And like Marcus Bronzy, even though he's from the UK, I actually met him in E3. And like, he's like my brother now. So yeah, it was by any means. So people don't even necessarily see, you just see us in front of the camera and just be like, oh yeah, that's all he does. But fam, we do the most. You see these money bags right there?
These are the real money bags indeed.
Fam. Money bags.
So what's next for Mr. Midas? What can we expect in 2021 when the world has hopefully gone back to semi-normal and beyond? Because I know your brother is doing a lot now as well, creating cool content. Where do you see yourself?
Well, one thing I've always wanted to be is like, there's the whole TV presenter in gaming is, there's only a few people who are actually stood out as TV presenters in gamers, like the Jeff Keighley's and people like that, and the Greg Millers. And I don't really know any Black video game presenter. So I want to be known as the biggest Black gaming presenter. But also, one of the most important things for me is being able to bring like the next generation. Like, people don't even know the amount of stuff I do behind the scenes. Like, every season I did of GGR, I had an intern on set, so they would learn how to make a production, so they could go and produce their own stuff. The same stuff I was learning on TV, I wanted to make sure they learn. So literally opening the doors, bringing the next generation through, and just being the sickest TV presenter like in gaming that anyone's ever said or seen. You see it?
No, I mean, and I think you will get there for sure. I mean, the thing is, and that's something I find very interesting, and I think it's been touched on a few times during this mixer so far, but it indeed is that behind the scenes you do so much more. There's so much more out there that you are doing that people out there don't see. I mean, you don't just instantly become one of the co-hosts for the BAFTA Awards. You don't just instantly go to E3. You need to hustle hard. And what a lot of people see is they see the results. They see Midas walking around in LA having a great time. They don't see the struggle he had to go through in order to get there. And I think it's very important to see that indeed these things don't come overnight. It's okay. You need to build on that. And it's also, I mean, I've been following you, Midas. I've been following you for literally a few years. Ever since you started doing the gamer stuff. And it is the body of work that you've created, the consistency of delivering, even the things that you don't see necessarily, that will make sure that I think in the future, you have a good possibility to become that presenter of all presenters in video games, because you're a personality, because you have that body of work, because indeed people know and respect you, and what you've already shown here in the Mixer as well, that you have the power to bring people together, which is highly appreciated.
No, I appreciate that, man. I fully appreciate that. Like, it's amazing to hear, because we work hard and sometimes you don't realize, like, there's times where you're like, why am I even doing this? Like, is it worth it? But then something like this comes together and it's like, of course it is. And it has to be worth it, because what we're doing is we're doing what we didn't have. We didn't have anyone to look at who looks like us. So now we're here. We have to do it for them. There's no stopping. Like, we can't open the door and be like, fam, I'm too tired today. No, no, there's no excuse. We have to do it because we chose to step into this space. So we're going to keep it moving for everyone else. Straight.
And progress doesn't come fast. I mean, I said earlier, I've been working for Ubisoft for 14 years, and I have grinded myself upwards, starting as PR, starting as brand manager, transitioning to local PR, transitioning to now international or global PR, or not PR, sorry, event director. It takes time. It takes time to create that body of work that people cannot deny and be like, okay, yeah, sure, indeed, yes, you did this. It takes time to create that network of people that will allow or support or help you to get to that next level. And all these kind of things, indeed. So thank you for sharing your story, Midas. And stick around, because we have you for the next panel as well. We're going to dive a little bit deeper, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the topics of, how do we make our industry truly diverse? So other than Midas for that panel, we have another very interesting person, Nigel, who represents Mayamada. For those who are wondering, what is Mayamada? Well, first and foremost, who is Nigel? Nigel is the former software engineer turned creative entrepreneur. He's the co-founder of Mayamada, a manga brand set within a universe of original characters and story. Nigel has built up a brand that reaches across comics, video games, and youth engagement, and in 2019 was recognized as a member of the nationwide 56th Black Man campaign. He delivers creative comic story workshops in schools, colleges, and youth hubs through Mayamada's program, The Storyboard. With fun and engaging user storytelling, they work to unlock imagination. In addition to this manga universe, the brand also operates as an industry-recognized social gaming event called Gamepad, which is very cool, by the way. Since 2015, their team has been promoting community and inclusion through the video games. The event also provides a platform for young people from underrepresented groups to gain experience in video games with their online and physical events. And I know that was a mouthful, but I really wanted to make sure that we introduce all the panelists for the next panel properly. Kirsten will moderate the panel. Midas and myself will also join as fellow panelists. So I would say, let's transition.
Thank you so much for that, Leon. I really appreciate that. And welcome to the last panel of this UK edition of the Black Game Pro Mixer. For everyone watching at home, thank you for staying tuned. Thank you for sending all your questions. We really appreciate the love. So first and foremost, Nigel, how are you doing today, man?
He's doing very muted. It happens. I mean,
we were so close.
Happens to the best of us.
Don't worry, they got me earlier.
I predicted this. Was happening. It's that self-fulfilling prophecy.
It's all good. It happens. It happens to the best of us.
But yeah, no, I'm doing good. It's good to be seen and heard, literally and figuratively. So yeah, glad to be here.
No, and we're very happy to have you here, especially because with all the work that you have been doing with Maya Mata, also when it comes to diversity and inclusion, I think you are the right person to be a part of this panel because we know that you have a opinion on this as well.
I have thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah, so speaking on those thoughts, I want to just jump right into this because this is going to be a very, very, I guess, important panel. Not to say that the other panels weren't as important, but this topic right here of diversity within the industry has been a buzzword all year, and people have said things. People are just kind of moving with the flow of things. But I really want to know, what are our thoughts as Black people in the industry? So, Nigel, first question for you. What does true diversity look like to you?
I think for me, like, true diversity is when you have the option to take part in this case, like the games industry, if you want to, and those barriers that are there because of what you look like are no longer there. So, you know, you mentioned, Leon, in my intro, that I work with young people, and there's young people who don't know they can be in gaming, and when they get there, or when they get to that realization, they're like, oh, I can't do it because of, you know, where I'm from. So for me, to be truly diverse and inclusive, it's allowing people the option to take part in this industry that we all love.
Yeah, with the young people as well, because like every other panel I had references to, I was a part of that. So growing up, I had no idea how to get into the gaming industry because watching E3, watching Gamescom growing up, no one ever looked like me. No one ever spoke like me. So I was like, how do I even get into it? Who do I even talk to? How do I even do this? Is this even possible? So I feel like for what we're doing right here, this is crucial because the younger generation or people outside of our industry are learning that, hey, Black people exist in this space. They are very successful in this space. How could I join in on them? Who could I ask questions to? How do I ask questions? What questions do I ask?
Yeah.
So, Mike, hitting you with the same question, what do you think true diversity looks like?
I think true diversity looks like not being surprised and shocked when we see ourselves. So we're so included, we don't get super excited. So, for example, like, I get super excited anytime I see a Black protagonist in a game because I'm not used to seeing Black protagonists in a game. So, like, being like, real diversity is us always being able to see ourselves and always have our voices heard. Like, when I was in school, I never knew about Jerry Lawson. Like, Jerry Lawson is one of the most important people when it comes to cartridge-based video games, and he's a Black guy. I didn't know about him. I only knew about him the other day. I've worked in gaming for 5 years, and I didn't know about him. But I know who Kojima is and all of them, man, and allowing all of our voices to be heard and us be seen, and that's the only way for it to really be fully diverse.
Yeah, and that's important as well because I feel like, particularly in games, I want to have a prominent Black figure. I don't want to have a shader, right? And I feel like for the longest time, it was just, you can make your skin darker, but you can't really create a actual Black character with Black features and Black hair. So for a fact, we're getting there, but there's still a lot to really change in order to fully arrive there. So Leon, you've been in the industry for 14 years. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think what Midas said was very, very interesting. I think we lost Midas real quick, but that's okay. I'm sure we'll get him back. But it is the feeling of no longer feeling like, oh my God, another Black person in the industry. I remember when I just started working for Ubisoft in Holland, and we did an we did an event over in Holland. And I was part of the installs crew. So I was the guy, basically, I was the install crew, actually. So I had to like connect everything and do all the things. And I remember being there in that convention center just before the madness commenced, being one Black dude walking around the Nintendo booth and being super excited about the fact, because I've been working for Ubisoft then for a few years, and he was honestly the first person that I saw in the industry that looked like me. So we connected and we stayed in touch afterwards, but it still happens until today. For me, for example, having a chat like this, having a call like this, seeing so many wonderful black folks, black people in this call, it still feels special, which it shouldn't. And I think that is something that it's getting better, but we need to keep on going. We need to do more. It needs to be better, and we need to become a better as an industry as a whole.
Yeah, and that really begins with starting that education, not even education, just really speaking out loud that, hey, we can do this. Like Timmy was saying earlier, just go do it. We can do it. There's so many options available for it. Let's just do it. So the fact that, like, not to say that we aren't trying our hardest, we just got to push that much further, that much harder, right?
100%.
So to follow up on that, Leon, the next question I'm going to ask you is, what does the industry need to do to become more diverse, like truly diverse? Like what are the stepping stones? What are the pillars? What do you think the next things in motion should be in order to set this up?
I think first and foremost, we need to humble ourselves. We need to admit the fact that we're not there yet, that we have the good intentions and that we're making the good steps, but that we're not there yet. We need to humble ourselves and start listening. And also as an industry, and I know I'm generalizing now, I know, but not as an industry, sit back and wait until diversity shows up at your doorstep. We need to actively engage. If we want, for example, in this case, if we want to have more black people join the industry, well, engage with them. If you want to have more other minorities join your industry or whatever, reach out to them. If you want to make sure you have proper representation in your games, make sure your team consists of people that are representative of the communities that you're trying to cater to.
Yeah, actually, I want to bring it back to, this is a callback to the mixer we had in my studio in Toronto in February when we had the same discussion, and Tanya mentioned that a lot of people say that, oh, I don't know where to hire people of color or black people. And she said, yo, just go outside. Like in this year alone, we have the Black Game Pros, we have Blacks at Xbox, we have the Bungie New initiative that has started up. We have these pockets of black developers coming together, these communities coming together to really show our presence within the industry. So it's just a matter of the outside people that aren't us putting forth the effort to be like, hey, we're here. But also the onus is on us to be like, no, we are here. Here's how we can assist you, right? Mm-hmm. So it has to work hand in hand. So Nigel, same question to you. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think you touched on that in terms of like both sides needing to come together, as kumbaya as that sounds. But in terms of like how the industry can be sort of diverse and inclusive, what I've seen sort of just in my like short time taking part in the games industry is that there's a kind of inertia. So, you know, we all know like how big the games industry is. And when you get to that point, you feel, you know, I'm generalizing a bit here, but as an industry, you feel like what we've done before has worked. But also what you've done before has left out a large section of the population, some of which might want to get into gaming. So I think it's that ability to kind of be self-aware and just say what we've done has worked up to a point. Maybe we can look elsewhere. So that might mean in terms of where you go to hire people, you might need to look in different places, where you go to inspire people, who you invite to these events. So you've got like a bunch of games industry events. I work in schools. I work with young people who are into gaming. They play games. And I asked them, like, honestly, I asked them like E3, sometimes EGX, all those, they don't know about them because where the advertising is done, it's not done in the places to reach those young people. So they're now left out. So I think the games industry just needs to be able to say, look, here we've been hiring, say, as an example, hiring people this way. What are the other ways? How can we get these new people? Because I think it will just improve like the industry as a whole.
Yeah, and to expand on that, I feel like a technique we could use would be the same way we interact with each other like-minded creators, let's say, because it's easy for creators and developers to mingle amongst ourselves, but from an industry standpoint, it stops. So how am I able to go reach out and meet you guys for the first time in my life over the span of a couple of weeks? But a lot of industries can't get the same talent to hire them. Like, where does that interruption happen? How do we break that wall, right?
And it is part of like Leon touched on, you have to be active, you have to be proactive in this. And I find it sometimes funny, the disparity between the, say, like marketing or sometimes and the behind the scenes, where, so like when people say, oh, we couldn't find black people, but if you have a marketing campaign that's, say, targeted at certain demographics, you know where to find them. So you know where to find them then. But when it comes to like, how do we get these people in, then suddenly it's like, oh, I don't know when to find them. So that's like a definitely proactive approach that needs someone to like step out of like the inertia and say, look, we actually need to do something. Let's go somewhere else because we need to change this.
And more importantly, like that change needs to happen proactively and not reactively, right? Because like I said before, like I'll be honest with it, diversity has been the buzzword all year, and people and other companies have been shifting towards diversity initiatives after the events of the summer, unfortunately. But we've been doing this for over a year now. And me and Leon, for our sake, we wanted to do this. We wanted to bring people together out of the goodness of our heart and to see people like us flourish, because we know of the struggle that we had to go through to get to where we are now. I'm lucky. I had a friend who worked at Ubisoft before I joined that helped me with the job. Being a college dropout, I didn't get hired for the times I applied before that. But because he spoke to the hiring manager and the people I would work with, I got the job. And I'm trying to do the same thing for our Black Game Pros community, because there are a lot of people who are pivoting outside of the industry to come into the industry, whether it's TV, film, or even retail for that. I have people that I work with that used to work in video game stores or tech stores that are now inside Ubisoft as like project managers, game designers, because of that connection that we made that was genuine, and we want to just really blow that up and make it better for everyone else. So I'm going to ask you the same question, Midas, because you in particular, you've dealt with the music industry, now the video game industry, and also the television industry as well. How do you think we could really make this more diverse, and what techniques can we use to really flesh this out?
I think there's a couple things, to be honest with you. Like, one of the things is like this whole I can't find black people thing to me is nonsense, because if I'm working with a PR company and you want to speak to like more black creatives, speak to me. I talk to black people. I'm a black man. I've got black friends. I've got people around me. I work with other creatives. So that to me is just a silly excuse. And companies need to start being in a place where, all right, cool, I know Midas and I know he's prominent within the scene. So let me speak to him so I can get to other people. And that's what Timmy and Naysaga do very well. Another thing as well is really important is this one in, one out mentality. So like I'm in, which means nobody else can come in, and then they bring somebody else in, and then I'm out all of a sudden. And I'm like, where's like, what is this whole, it can only be one black person in the room nonsense? Like that needs to be removed. And equal pay as well is really important. Like making sure that like black creatives are getting the same payments as their white counterparts, like stuff like that. So this isn't no one overnight fix, because if it was a one overnight fix, it would have already been fixed. And there's so many different things that need to be done. And like Leon said, is the only way it's going to be fixed is when companies are happy enough to put up their hands and say, look, I don't know what I'm doing in this area. Leon, you're a specialist. Come and teach me. Because as much as a marketing guy who might live in Staines, who's seen 3 black people in his life, he might want to try and reach out to me, but he doesn't understand how. And I get that. But employ people in your team. Make sure you got someone, or that one person that's in your team, talk to them and say, Rob, Midas, Leon, Nigel, how can I reach out to the right community? Like, let us be part of the conversation. Don't just do the end product and then dash it to us and say, there's a free code, be happy.
And that's the thing too. So I'll touch on a couple things there. Like the one in, one out, like absolutely cheeses my soul, because why is that a thing? Why can you only have one particular person, like one black person here? We met the quota, let's move on. And like we've seen instances where certain like people are wanting to get this content, like do reviews, get console reviews and whatnot, and they're being shouted for people of like lesser experience, but they have the talent, they have the rapport, they have the experience more so to get this done, and it kind of gets sidelined, right? So how do we change that narrative? So in saying that, I want to go into this last question, Midas. I want to start with you. what can we do as a community to contribute?
Sorry, I wasn't getting caught out.
It's like you're thinking a long time. It's like,
yeah,
I'm gonna make this
I weren't getting caught out. Do you know what? Like, to be honest with you, like I feel like we already are. Like every day we're out here working, building our own communities. Like it's not even a thing where I feel like we're not. Like we are constantly out here building our own communities to be seen. And I think the one thing that maybe we could do more is not be afraid to reach out to people when a door closes in your face. Because sometimes like someone might not receive an email and you're like, oh, that person hates me, I'm never going to contact them again. So like if a door closes in your face, don't be scared to reach out again and reach out again. But we're doing it. We're not just sitting there sitting on our laps and doing nothing. We're actively working on a day-to-day basis to make this industry better and make it more inclusive, because boy, if they're not going to let us through the door, fam, we're going to kick it off. Simple.
That's facts, bro. And like even like moving off that as well, like if you get stuck, sure, whatever, someone you know somewhere knows someone. Like this industry, as big as it is not that massive, and most definitely people could help you out with that. And again, like I've been saying this entire panel, this entire mixer today, that people like us out here want to help you. We want to make sure we're giving you the keys to success so we can most definitely get this done. So on that same topic of community, Nigel, how do you think we could really contribute to this?
So I think for me, I can do what I'm doing, and the way I see it is, at some stage you have to give the next generation, these young people from these up underrepresented groups, the opportunity. So as Leo mentioned, like through our gamepad event, I go to like colleges and schools and give young people the opportunity to take part in our event, to be part of the production, to be, when we're doing physical events, to be part of it, to get that experience so that they understand how it works and they get real world experience that they can then take forward. And then that's on the side of the young people, and then trying to sort of do the networking thing with the industry to say, hey, if you say you are looking for this talent, I am working with these next generation of kids of 16, 17, 18, whatever it might be. Let's make this happen. So I think, to your point about saying like both sides need to sort of take some action, it's like working with those young people who may not know that they can be part of the industry, let them know, give them the opportunity, give them the skills and experience, and then go to the industry and say, this is how we can work to solve these problems. These young people have this experience now. Where can we take them next?
Yeah, and again, like following up with a theme that presented earlier, like setting people up for success. We have the tools, we have the knowledge, we have the know-how. Let's just do it. And I think that, again, together we can most definitely get this done. And there's, at this point, no excuse for it to not happen. And as a community, it's up to us to really blow the shit out of the water, to bring to everyone else, to let them know that we are being extremely loud about this. We aren't being hesitant or passive about this. Like, hey, we want this to happen. We are going to make this happen. Here's how we're going to do it. And again, being more proactive than reactive. So in saying that, I'm going to now switch it to our Q&A session, because I believe we have some questions.
I think we do.
Okay, so we have a very, very interesting question here. So, Nigel, I want to continue with you. So the question is, why is it so hard for ethnic people from varied background to get an entry-level job in the gaming companies? They say they're diverse, but you never get an email or at least a call back. Why is that?
As in people not getting a call back who've attempted?
Yes, that are, I assume, are qualified.
Yeah. It's a challenging one. I think in the past couple of years in particular, as I've sort of spoken to more people and worked with more people, I think part of it is like what Midas is saying about the one in, one out mentality. So unfortunately, I feel that is prevalent, where if we've ticked a certain box, then we're done with this kind of person. If we've got that one person, then maybe we don't need to make a push to get more in. And even as I say it, like, it sounds terrible, but it feels like that. And I think then on the flip side, just as a underrepresented group, sometimes it's just not knowing or believing that you can sort of make the second attempt. So like there's no one on this panel, there are many people watching who haven't been knocked back in some way. But when you have that kind of one in, one out mentality, so you see, oh, they checked that box, so maybe it's not for me. What you need to do is actually make a second attempt or third attempt and a fourth attempt. I think sometimes it's just being able to take that knockback and keep going, but having the belief to be able to do that.
And even that too, that comes with confidence as well, because you didn't get this job, there's thousands of other jobs for you to get. And what you've experienced from this one entity of this interview or this application will now keep you, I guess, more skilled and more ready for what comes next.
Yeah, and I think for like, particularly if you are Black or female from an underrepresented group in the gaming industry, is just to understand that sort of not getting a call back or getting a no is not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of the state of things at that time you joined, and try not to internalize that and take it forward.
Yeah, 100%. And we're going to move on to question number 2 now. And Leon, I'm going to ask you this question because this is right up your alley. And I believe that you might have experienced this, or at least know people who have gone through it. So your input is very important to this one. So how could you convince some people who say they are just doing these diversity to look good and it's just for PR? And what do you think diversity brings to your company? Because it's obvious, not obvious, but like it's apparent that companies this year have been, oh, we're diverse, we did the thing. See you later.
Yep.
Like, how do we really talk about that?
I think the Black Lives Matter movement caused indeed the industry as a whole to have a rude awakening when it comes to looking inwards and seeing how, well, diverse or not really they are. If people do it, I mean, doing it for PR reasons, just to be like, oh yes, look at us be diverse. I mean, people see through that. I mean, it's come on. It's like we live in 2020. It's been a weird year, but it's still, people are not stupid. For us, and I can just speak for Ubisoft and what we have been doing, Kirsten, myself, and the good people that you don't see on the screen right now behind the scenes, working on the Black Game Pros mixer and working on other diversity and inclusion topics, that this is a long-term investment when it comes not only to money, but when it comes to just how we approach this. We at Ubisoft, and I know that other companies as well, but once again, I can only speak for Ubisoft. I know that we just hired or announced that we will hire a VP of diversity and inclusion that will start in February, just to make sure that we do better, because we need to do better as an industry. Like I said, the groundwork has been set. The intentions are good. The industry as a whole, we're doing better. It's better than 14 years ago for sure. However, there's still a long way to go, and the only way to do that is by approaching this from a long-term investment. This is not checkers. This is chess. This is a long-term play, and it's a long-term investment for us. And I think for anyone who's serious about this in the industry, if you do this just for PR, it's like that will, that's just, come on.
And that's the thing. Like we know that people are doing this for PR to make it look like, oh, we're doing well. We're really taking care of the diverse needs of our consumers, but it's not really wholehearted. It's not in the right place.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, sure.
Well, definitely. Just
on the value of diversity, because I think it's a really good question, and just putting aside the disingenuous part of it, because there are definitely companies that will do that to ride the trend. But I think the value of diversity so I look at like what we do with our comics and gamepad event. Like I write these comics, but our artist, our illustrator is the host of our gamepad events, is a Black woman, mixed race Black woman. And it's just getting that different perspective, because what will happen is I'll have an idea as sort of the code thing. But honestly, like, if 50% of my ideas are the best ones, I'm having a good day. So it's not about like me just putting out my thoughts. It's about putting out the thoughts and having them challenged. And the best way to get them challenged is to have people coming from different perspectives or working towards the same goal. So the value of diversity is you get a better product at the end of it, because people are not just having one idea, and because everyone feels the same way, comes from the same experience, they all say yes, and it doesn't get challenged. And I think that's the value that diversity can bring to any industry, but particularly with games, when you have these like complex, like artistic, creative products, you have that ideas being challenged. And I think that's ultimately, for me, why we want more diversity in the industry, to get more people involved and to make a better product.
Yeah, and like stepping up to that challenge and really breaking through with that is a challenge within itself. And again, it is not easy. So really setting yourself up for what this looks like, having a blueprint for how you want to attack it, will really set you up for success. Yeah, but really make it more earnest for you because you want to go do this. You want to make it happen. And Midas, I know you have some feelings on this. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not going to ramble on too long. I'm just going to say also, like, people are entitled to feel that way because for all of this time, the gaming industry hasn't really represented for us. So the more it happens, then people are going to start being like, oh, actually, this is not just a one-time thing. It's not just a one-time game. Like, they're in it for the long run. So when people can see like Ubisoft and other gaming companies continually supporting us, they're going to open their eyes and be like, oh, like they're really here for us, rather than, oh, this was just to promote one product or just to promote one game. And people are kind of entitled to feel that way until the gaming companies start doing the real change. And like Leon said, it's going to take a slow process, but sometimes you just got to understand people are going to feel that way until they can actually start seeing the change happen.
Yeah, and that change is going to happen in not a long time, but like you said, it's going to take some time. And I feel like as a Black collective, we really need to kind of take a step back and watch it go down and be a part of it going down, because we can't just throw it at the wall. Hopefully it sticks immediately, but we need to make sure we're doing it right. And if we don't do it right, it's not going to matter, because we'll be back at ground zero making the same mistakes over and over again until we figure out a way to do it correctly. So now in saying that, I want to bring this panel to an end. And I want to thank Mr. Midas, I want to thank Leon, I want to thank Nigel for your time and this amazing conversation. And again, like we've been saying all day, this conversation will continue. Feel free to hit us up on our Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. We will try our best to get back to you. But end of the day, we're all here together and we're going to make this happen. So Leon, we have one more keynote coming up. Would you like to introduce it?
Sure. A keynote that we have is from Chancelina Grant, Partnership Manager for Newzoo, and she will share some of the numbers and facts about diversity and inclusion in the UK video games industry. The reason why we wanted to highlight this is that facts matter. We wanted to show, indeed, the facts and the data behind what we are talking about, so that, well, I mean, we can talk, sure, important. We can share ideas, sure. But it's always nice to also have something factual you can put next to that to see like, hey, indeed, there is a need for diversity and inclusion. There is a reason why our voice matters. So with that being said, let's transition into the keynote from Sean.
Hi, I'm Shan. First of all, thanks for having me here. I've been a fan of the event since the start, and I am excited to be able to contribute. I will be sharing some insights that we gather here at Newzoo to give the conversation a bit more of a stats and data element. So I know usually I'm supposed to talk a little bit more about myself and, how I got into games and, my personal opinion on things, but it's really simple. I love games and I'm known to be opinionated and passionate about them. But even more than that, I love connecting people and I love facts. And that's a big reason why I love working at Newzoo, because they're the leading analytics company in games and esports. Now, I'm part of data acquisition and in a wider sense, product development, and I manage Newzoo's data partnerships. Specifically, I manage partnerships that help Newzoo get more hard data. And hard data is data that we can track over time through many processes. So, for example, daily active users of a particular game on PC, and then how long people play this game, or monthly active users and downloads on a game on mobile, or engagement data on a social media platform like Reddit. We then take this data and feed it into the Newzoo platform, our analytics platform, where our clients can slice and dice the data across many more of our data sources. So I also manage our partnerships with more than 30 esports organizations. For example, DreamHack, Team Liquid, G2, Pain Gaming, Ninjas in Pajamas, and so on. And we collect their actual revenue data, which we then use as input for our forecasting models. And then our clients, this helps our clients size up the market. So part of Newzoo's own data is collected through our gamer and like our games and esports panel, which is the largest of its kind worldwide. And this data set includes extensive demographic data and deep consumer insights. And as part of consumer insights, each year we do a special gamer sentiment study. And particularly this year, in the wake of the Black Lives Matter movement, we had lots, and I mean lots, of internal discussions on how Newzoo as a company can contribute to advancements in this area. And we did not want to be sitting on the fence, and instead we wanted to do, what we do best, and that's collect and analyze data. And so that's a large contributing factor to why we recently launched our gamer sentiment study on diversity and inclusion. And, not too long ago, game developers and publishers often, almost exclusively catered to white men, often overlooking women, ethnic minorities, the LGBTQIA plus community, and people with disabilities. And, while the market has come a long way since then, the games business, still has a bunch of challenges to overcome in terms of inclusion and representation. So this study is already helping the biggest game publishers understand behavior, motivation, and sentiment, identify opportunities to make games more inclusive, and access motivations outside of gaming. And our findings show just how diverse the UK market really is in terms of ethnicity, gender, sexual identity, and more. And with the study, we aim to answer questions or help answer questions, like what can be done to attract more gamers, and particularly those of underrepresented groups. So we found that 13% of UK gamers are part of an ethnic minority. And I'm going to point out some areas in which particularly Black gamers over-index according to our research. For example, 47%, nearly half of all respondents, want games they play to include diverse characters. This is even stronger among Black gamers, with over half, 57%, wanting diverse characters in games. Also, a higher share of gamers of ethnic minorities, particularly Black gamers, with 47%, indicated not playing a certain game because they felt they weren't made for them, versus 41% of all gamers. Now, when it comes to character selection, over 1/3, 36% of Black gamers prefer to play a game character that resembles themselves. This is the highest share out of any minority group. Likewise, a similar percentage, 46%, want companies to take an active stance on societal issues. And this share is even higher among Black gamers, with close to 2/3 indicating this. That's 64%. Here are some of the reasons for Black respondents stating they feel they're likelier to play a game from publishers that take an active stance. It lets me know the company stands with us. That's by straight Black female, age 27. Then here's another one. Because then people would feel more appreciated and more acceptable when companies of popular games talk about societal issues. It gives others a sign of respect and acknowledgement. Straight Black male, age 24. Now, all in all, the market has made some heartening steps forward over the past 10 years, but publishers understand that there is much work to be done. If we, for instance, compare the percentage of playable minority characters in the top 50 games of 2015 to 2020, then we see an increase from 36 to 46%. But not only do 47% of all gamers want to see diversity in games, almost a third of gamers perceive that the share representing ethnic minorities in game development is less than 10%. So now, some of these findings may not come as a surprise to you, and our gamer sentiment study, of course, allows us to look even deeper, helping understand gamer behavior, motivation, sentiment, as well as analyze gamers' viewing behavior and engagement with online gaming communities. But data, to me, can often support what we already know to be true and make a much stronger argument, a much stronger case to drive decision making that ultimately leads to changes. And I'm a strong believer in empowering people with data to support them in making our industry more inclusive overall. Now, as they say, it's hard to argue with facts, right? So if you would like to learn more about our gamer sentiment study and, gamer sentiment study on diversity and inclusion, then please feel free to reach out to me. And in any case, I hope you found this interesting. And once more, thanks a lot for having me, guys. Bye.
Thank you very much, Sean, for this very enlightening talk. Data is so important, facts are so important, and it shows indeed that representation matters. Now, moving on to this announcement that I was teasing earlier today, something that we, first and foremost, Kirsten and myself, as the co-founders of the Black Game Pros Mixer, are super proud of, that Ubisoft is involving themselves in this. But in general, as a company, we are super proud to announce the following, because we've been talking a lot today about many topics around diversity within the industry, the opportunities that exist, and indeed some of the issues too. It's important, vital even, that we continue to promote diversity and improve the representation of people of color and specific ethnic groups that are underrepresented in certain fields of work and education. As such, it brings me and Ubisoft great pleasure to announce here today that the launch of the Ubisoft Scholarship for Black UK students. It is a bursary support to 2 Black UK students in their studies at Newcastle University on their computer science course. Starting academic year 2021, this Ubisoft Scholarship will support 2 students to study BSc Computer Science at Newcastle University. This will cover the university course fees, as well as an allowance towards living costs for both the students. A donation that amounts to £67,500 will be made available over a 3-year period, $22,500 per year, to support diversity in the study of BCS computer science through a scholarship at that university. Now, in addition to that financial support, and I think that's also very important because it's not just giving money. In addition to this financial support, Ubisoft commits to providing the 2 students with vocational support from Ubisoft Reflection Studio. This will include a specific point of contact and mentor throughout the program, a combination of pure engineering mentorship and soft skills development, including communication, collaboration, diversity and inclusion, employability, authentic leadership. We think that indeed this is a very important thing, the soft skills that we also need to make sure that people learn. And on top of that, we offer a 3-month paid internship at Ubisoft Reflections, working with the industry-renowned partners. Now, applications are just open, and they're still open, and the bursary will be administered by Newcastle University for those qualifying. So head out to their website for more information. I'm quite sure you can also find some more information on our socials. We might be able to even share the link in the stream. I am not sure. But if you want to find out more about this, go to the website of the University of Newcastle to find out more about this very cool opportunity to help 2 students go through college, get some mentorship, get an internship. So I think on that note, and this was a short one, we could probably transition, and we should probably transition into the conclusion and final Q&A together with my friend Kirsten. So let's do that. Let's transition. Yep. It's all right, Mr. Kirsten.
Hello, hello, hello.
These mixes go by so fast.
They really do. And it's also wild to think that this is the 5th one.
Yep.
Also the 2nd one in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, we did one indeed. For those who didn't know, we did another mixer last week on Thursday in collaboration with Feja Games, a Ivory Coast organization aimed at, well, generating more diversity and representation within the African diaspora.
Yeah, and like it's really cool to think about. So let's just bring it back full circle, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Last year E3, we did the mixer in LA.
Mm-hmm.
February, we did the mixer here in Toronto.
That's correct.
We did our online mixer in July, the Phasia mixer last week, and now the UK mixer. So that really shows us, and kind of like everyone paying attention, that as a Black collective of the Black Game Pros Initiative, we are everywhere across many different job families, many different industries, and we have the utilities necessary to build this community and make it bigger. And the fact that we have been communicating with other people to really blow this up means that A, we're doing the right thing, and B, we're really expressing and showcasing that these Black talents are here. Here's how you reach out to them.
Yep, totally. And I think that's one of the reasons why we are doing these mixers, indeed, to create that visibility, to create that network of industry peers or people you can even look up to if you're an aspiring game artist or a game industry member. But I think one of the things that I am particularly proud of for this one, on top of all the wonderful speakers that we've had, thank you very much for joining and for those who are still on the call. But this announcement where Ubisoft UK, in collaboration with Newcastle University, will support and pay for 2 Black students' tuition and housing, provide mentorship. That is big because, of course, the more Black people we get into our industry, the better. But it starts somewhere. And these mixers are cool, and we're going to keep on doing them. So we're going to be around for next year and the years to come. However, we really wanted to make sure that we leverage the platform that we have to do more than just talk and do more than just network by really contributing to hopefully change the life for the better of 2 of these students. And I think that is massive. That is big. I mean, if I would have been student age, which I'm no longer, as you can see in my white hairs, then that's something that I would definitely jump on because I mean, I grew up basically in welfare, so this would be an opportunity. And even if not, I mean, it's super cool that right now as an industry, and especially now in this case, as Ubisoft UK is focusing on really making a change. So yeah, I'm super proud of that.
And that's the main thing too, because when we think about these initiatives and really being proactive about these things, you have to put your money where your mouth is. We could do these mixes, have the conversation. But now we have something tangible in place that's going to tell people, hey, we want to be able to help you to the best of our abilities. Here's a bump. It might not be the biggest bump, but here's a bump. We could help out 2 students right now. Who knows, in 5-6 years, we could help out a class or whatever, right? Like we have to think about what we could do now and focus on what we're going to do later. And as someone who's a college dropout, I would have jumped on this in a heartbeat if I had the opportunity to. So shout out to Newcastle University, shout out to the UK team for Ubisoft for like really making this happen, because this is a really big deal. Like I can't stress that enough. This is a very, very big deal.
Oh yeah, it is. It is, and it's almost difficult to put under words, indeed, how big of a deal this is, and indeed how we are actively impacting the lives of 2 people and providing them with a college education. And hopefully making sure that they land a job within the gaming industry. And for me, honestly, if they work for Ubisoft, cool. But if they end up working for any other partner in the industry or any other,
also dope.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you're in, and that's the thing. It's as long as we get more of people that look like us in the industry, I think that's what we're trying to do here. And like I said earlier, we're in this for the long run. Indeed, you might be like, okay, but why only 2 students, and why indeed only, in this case, maybe Black students, and why not focus on other minority groups, which is a very valid question. But you need to start somewhere. Change comes with baby steps. It's not going to be a radical change. You need to take it slowly, take it slow, and make sure that you do it in the proper and diligent way.
Yeah,
At least
like,
that's my opinion.
No,
Sorry.
that's 100% true. Like, you have to know how to make a layup before you can dunk, right?
Yep.
Unless you're just a tall
I cannot
freak,
dunk.
So.
I cannot dunk, by the way.
Yeah, and even like with Sean's keynote that she had talking about like the numbers, to quote Jay-Z, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And we know for a fact that when it comes to representation within the gaming industry, we're not there yet. But having like tangible data that says, hey, here's where it's at, we need to now take this information and figure out ways to really implement that in our hiring process, or implement that into showcasing certain content creators, or anything of that media, because we have the know-how, we have the knowledge, we have the tools to do so. Now it's like, all right, how do we do this? Here's what we can help. And what we talked about in the last panel, or panel before, sorry, panel 2, about how to really work together on this. Like Midas was saying, he's a Black man. He knows how to talk to people, bring people in. Let's leverage that. Why not, right? And really continuing that across the board. How do we make that happen?
Oh yeah, for sure. But that is also what every one of you watching right now is like. For us, these mixers are just the starting point. It's just the start of a conversation. And yes, right now we are focusing on the UK gaming market. Last week we focused on the African continent. These initiatives that we have is just a starting point for dialogue, to create this network that we need, the global network of industry peers that are killing it in whatever field that they're working on, while at the same time, and that's for all of you watching, putting that spotlight on these different job profiles to show you that if you're a legal student, if you are a psychology student, if you're a marketing student, there is a place for you in the industry, no matter what your background is. And yes, this is called the Black Game Pros Mixer. So yes, we are talking about Black folks, but in general, it doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, what your studies are. You can make a career out of video games. If you're passionate about games, just go for it. And I think that's also a good segue to really wrapping this up slowly but surely, is that we're here. Kirsten mentioned it a few times. We're honest about this. Reach out to us. Use the tools that you have at hand. The people that are in this call, the people that were on the panels, the people that did the interviews, reach out to them on socials, reach out to them on LinkedIn. Even if right now you might not even have a question, or you might not even know, like, oh, I don't know what to ask, or that's okay. Build your network. You never know.
And again, like, there's also like this negative connotation to shooting out a message into the wild and not getting a shot back, or you just being negative about it, right? But if you are a person who A, wants to get into the game industry, and B, is passionate about this, let's just have the conversation. During the mixer, I had a couple people reach out to me on LinkedIn being, hey, I really like what you guys are talking about, but I don't know where I fit into the industry. Can we have this conversation? I messaged back saying, yeah, like, let's talk about it next week. We could really hash things out. And what I'm going to tell them is, hey, like, what are you passionate about? What do you like? Where do you think you might go? And then kind of make that happen. Because even though we're in the gaming industry, you could change job families. I know people who have started as content creators, who went to community managers, are now producers. Those are 3 very different backgrounds, 3 different jobs. How does that happen? On the job experience, passion for something else, right?
Yep. But you need to start somewhere. And that's the thing, is like, start so. And even if you don't know where you want to go 100% yet, but if you have a passion for games, that's a start. That's a start already. That's how it started for me as well. And that's, I mean, just to give a small, tiny anecdote, Kirsten already knows it because I shared it with him 20,000 times already. But when I applied for Ubisoft, I was denied. I was told like, yeah, you're not the right person for the job. They told me rejection. Nope, go back home. after I had an interview. Now I could have done two things. Could have been like, okay, go on with my life, be sad about it and whatever. Or, which I did. I mean, I'm not saying that's the end all be all, but I wrote an email back telling Marcel, if he's watching, telling him, yeah, exactly, telling him like, hey, I do not agree with this because these and these reasons. Like, don't give up. It's okay. I mean, what do you have to lose?
It's going to happen. And also, too, like, you're going to apply for jobs. You're not going to get them. This wouldn't be your first rejection, right? So if you have that information from that rejection, that's going to make your next application so much better.
Exactly.
Right? That's going to get you that confidence. You know what? I couldn't get a job at company A. Let's go to company B. Okay, that didn't work out. Let's go to company C.
Yep.
And like again, like Timmy with the mic drop earlier today, just go do it. Just go do it. We can't stress that enough.
But I think all of the speakers that we had so far today, and in general for the mixer so far, is they're all people that have just did it. Okay, it's like, okay, all the bullshit aside, it's like they just did it. They're grinding, they're building, they're doing it. And that's all that matters. That's all that matters, I think. Just keep on pushing and keep on pushing it forward, which is a good segue to the proper conclusion. I know, Pascal, we have 1 minute left. our tech guy is like, you need to wrap it up. So indeed, we're always super enthusiastic about this, but the Black Game Pros Mixer is here to stay. We will be back next year. Don't know when exactly, but Black History Month is coming up, so it would make sense for us to do something big then. Now, to conclude, I really want to give a big shout out to all the speakers who joined today: Midas, Stephanie, Nigel, Lauren, Adam, Rose. I'm missing someone, I think. If I'm missing someone, sorry, love you regardless. And also, of course, a very big shout out and thank you to the people you don't see, the people behind the screens. Thank you so much for joining, thank you so much for helping setting this up. For those watching, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for your questions. And my brother from another mother, Kirsten, thank you so much for doing this together with me. It is a pleasure to work with you.
Oh man, these mixers are always fun, and the fact that we're going to keep doing this and it's going to keep on growing is really exciting to me because they can't really wait to see what happens next. And I want to continue this conversation. And like I'll just say one more time before we wrap things up, for sure. We're available. Yep. Hit us up on the socials. Ask your questions. Please do not be afraid. We are here to answer your questions.
Ooh, and we have a Discord.
Yes, we have a Discord.
So Black Game Pros Discord, I don't think it's open to join. But how can people join if it's not open, Kristen?
Yes, I think the easiest thing, if you hit me up on Twitter @_KVonDoom or on LinkedIn, Kirsten Timothy, or Leon as well on LinkedIn, we will send you the link and we will get that done.
All right. Oh, well, apparently we can keep it going if we want. I just received the email from UK. It's like, hey, it's a very interesting stream. You want to keep it going? Do we have more? Do we have more to talk about? We're not going to keep it going just for the sake of keeping it going. Is there anything more you would like to share, Kirsten?
No, I just think that more than anything, just really stressing the point that this is a community and this doesn't stop at Ubisoft, right? We are here, we are international, clearly, and we are in very different job families as well. We want to make sure that everyone who wants to join in on this conversation has the opportunity to A, join the industry, or B, start a conversation about what can I do? Can I be a content creator? Can I be a game developer? Can I be a community manager? Can I be a game designer? How do I get into the industry? What does that look like? And I want to be able to showcase a smorgasbord of sorts of different job families that you could get into.
Yep.
Or at least show you what's possible. Because believe me when I tell you, whatever you think you know about getting into the industry is probably wrong. And we want to be able to show you that, hey, here's what works. Here's something that we know is true. Here's information that we could really give to everybody else. I'm rambling, but
no, I love it's a great ramble. It's a great ramble, and indeed, key takeaway of everything that we've said, and I think I can speak for all the speakers that we had today and panelists. We are here for you. Do not be afraid. We do not bite. No, we don't. So please do reach out to us. And I think on that note,
that's it. That's all.
That's it. That's all for us here today for the Black Game Pros Mixer. Thank you so much for watching this UK edition. Once again, big thank you to all the teams behind the scenes working on this. Massive shout out to the UK team for hosting us.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Leon, Kirsten on the other side, and we will be back next time. A peace.